Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen meeting, June 28th, 5 o'clock. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to make a motion that we limit this meeting to 2 hours.
Second.
In discussion? Those in favor? Item 2, approval of the June 21st minutes. I think we've all signed them. I think we're good. Somebody want to make a motion to accept them?
I make a motion to accept the June 21st, 2017 minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Item 3, review of the treasurer's warrants. Payroll, number 107. I'll make that motion.
Second.
In favor? Accounts payable, numbers 106, 108, and 109.
Motion approved.
Second? Item 4, open session. Anybody like to speak today? I think we can move to item 5, selectmen concerns. Anybody? No?
No.
Looks like we got a pretty full menu. I think we'll move right to 6. Committee reports, Parks and Recreation. On deck.
The town manager called me last week and some concerns you folks had, so I'm here to address them, I guess, or Jason and I are. So, ask away, I guess.
These were the invoices last week that we needed to approve. We have 2815 and then a second one of 1550.85.
This is for the material that you brought up to us last meeting?
Yes, this was from J.D. Raymond.
Compost.
Says compost.
They did it in 2 deliveries. One delivery was 4 scoops, so I think maybe it was 195 yards or something. And then they came back a week or so later with the other 2. So it came on 2 invoices.
Are those the 2 invoices?
Yep.
So what's the total? Where are we now?
Was it 18 and 28?
Yep.
46.
15 and 28.
15 and 28?
Yeah.
23?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some discussion last meeting about accessing funds in a reserve account. And I guess we were looking for some clarification. Had that been, do you know if that was voted or approved by in-town meeting last?
Well, there was no article on that specifically because it's a reserve account. It doesn't have to go to town meeting. You are allowed to spend those funds. And they have, according to the town report, $5,300 in the account as of last year.
In the parks
In the
account.
parks.
5,300.
Recreation. Yeah, it was page
Yeah.
41. Yeah, that's what I
Should
have.
be, well, and then you had the 1,000 that we put in this year that was voted on, should bring it to 63.
Right, so then at the town
Your
meeting.
53 doesn't reflect this year's 1,000?
Right.
Okay.
So
So there's
63.
an additional 1,000, and then what we need to have discussion on is the donations, because I'm not sure that we can spend them, we can accept them according to your town warrant. It doesn't say how you can use them. And they were not carried, so right now they're in general fund, surplus, whatever you want to call it. So anything that was received last year prior to 2017 is just sitting in general fund.
Do we have an accurate accounting of donations?
Well, this is from November of last year. Yes, this is actually from January 1st of 2016 until June 21st of 17. And there's a total right now of $5,200. So there should have been some kind of vote, either selectmen's vote or town meeting vote, to put these donation funds in one of these reserve accounts. And I didn't see any account such as that.
Is that 5,200, is that general? I mean, is it all donated for whatever part of this project? Is it split up? Because I keep hearing that some stuff is for this and some stuff's for
Well,
that.
some of
so
it
that's
says
why.
Veteran Park Project, and some of it says,
Veteran Park. Is that,
over
That's what
here,
they-
the reference
they
says
call it?
gazebo.
That's what I was,
So
my
there's
other
some
question.
specificity with some of these donations.
Yeah.
That's,
is the
yeah.
Veteran
Yes.
Park?
And we recently got another donation,
I
just this
thought that
weekend.
was- I don't
The
know.
Veteran
Is that a part of this?
That is not a
that's
part
not.
of this number or this number.
Did you hear that?
No.
The 1,500 we got this weekend is on top of the 52.
Is on top of the fee, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 67 in donations that have yet to be doled out. Is that what you have, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, she gave me a figure before the 1,500, of 4150, and then you add the 1,500. I'm just going by what she
Plus,
penciled.
Yeah.
there's those little collection cans around town.
That's in
so-
here,
oh,
that's in
okay.
here,
So
so it's
they're-
all,
it's not necessarily like a exactly even number.
So periodically, those cans come in and they'd be just put right into this total.
right.
Right. The issue that we had last year when the previous town manager was here and we went out to solicit donations is that when they got the checks, I thought they were gonna put them right to the create like a reserve for the specific project. But instead, they deposit them into the general fund of the town.
Right.
That's
They
what has to
they should have been restricted funds because on the checks, the people donated specifically for the project.
Yeah, it's an accounting issue, is that fair to say?
Yes,
Right.
it
So,
is.
I mean, as long as we're keeping, first of all, you guys are doing great stuff. It's amazing what's happening. It's a little scary from our point of view because we're like, oh, everybody's paying for this, but it looks like it's going pretty well. But from an accounting standpoint, we obviously have to make sure that the money that's donated goes to where people want it to go.
So, can I interrupt before we
Sure.
go far? That 14.2 that was voted on at town meeting, where is that? That
That
was
is in the
designated for
gazebo.
the gazebo.
It is.
Correct.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
still
in the
there.
That's what we're
gazebo.
planning on.
No, that's still there. I mean, that
Yeah.
townspeople voted on that, that's not gonna,
But that was that origins of that was Sangerville days or something like that?
Yes.
that's where it came from.
So there's a perfect example, though. That's sitting in the general fund right now.
Well, but it's set in a reserve.
Right, but we've
And
been
it's
allocated.
designated that we
Right.
can spend it.
So it's there.
So really, I mean, I don't know if it's possible or not, but whatever we have for donations that were deemed towards the gazebo fund, those that you're keeping track of, those really from last year should be moved now over to that gazebo account reserve.
Yeah, if there is
If,
Well,
a sign-off for that.
they've
The only thing
indicated
that's been
it in a
approved
couple
there
of
for
different
gazebo
ways.
is the Sangerville days. We don't technically have a gazebo account.
well, I know, but by moving that over there, you're using that, so that's basically a reserve account for the gazebo. Is where we move that.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you basically rename the account because we
Right.
no longer have it this, now we're calling
It's
it that.
right, it has
Right,
been-
the other one was Sangerville days is gone.
Right, now we have a gazebo
But
reserve.
when some of these donations come in, they're marking them gazebo versus Veteran Park Project. So, I mean,
It's kind of a little bit synonymous, but.
Yeah.
It is, but the only thing is, if you spend $14,000 on gravel, Jimmy's not gonna be very happy, because if you added one, because there goes your gazebo. Where he just asked, where is that money? That's why I think it's important to keep these funds separated, because the town agreed for that 14,000 to be part of the gazebo.
And that's where it's gonna go.
Yes, but I'm just saying that, in the same way as this, you got people donating for the gazebo. So those funds, I think really should be into that reserve, and if we need, how do we straighten out the rest of it?
Well, that's gonna get kind of messy because if you're gonna go out and say, can you donate for the fence, can you donate for the sign, for this or that? I mean, it's, all the things collectively are the park.
Yeah.
I know, but it's what you guys have done. It's coming
We
in.
didn't do anything.
But it's how it's come. Well, I mean, like that funds went towards the gazebo. That's what was asked for.
I mean, this is what, I don't even know what he put in here. He called it Veterans Memorial Park when the town manager did this.
I mean, the two big centerpieces are no doubt the field and the gazebo, so. you know,
When's the most recent donation for the multi-purpose field
Yep.
specifically?
Yep.
Because when we originally solicited last summer, the gazebo was not really totally in the vision yet. So
Sure.
it took them a while to do it, and they submitted their paperwork, the Masons, as the field. So that was probably more restricted to the field.
I don't know if you can label it that, because this is what went out to the people, and it says right here, for mail contributions to Veteran Memorial Park Fund. I mean, if you want to relabel it that. We know that the 14 that the town voted on
Was for the gazebo.
is definitely going to the gazebo.
Yeah.
That's why I think for simplicity's sake, it's no different, I wouldn't think it's any different for us to have two reserves.
Right.
You've clearly got donations in two categories right now. If we keep them in those two categories,
We're fine.
yeah. That way there, if anybody asks, I had a check that said it went to the gazebo and you spent it on something else.
The rec reserve there was set up years ago, even before I came on board, to do bigger projects like we've done. We probably could leave that donation of the 4150 or the whatever plus the 1500 in that account. And that can be for the fields, because we've done field work with it. We've done hot topping a basketball court, a gravel project. I mean, it's all been for the field in that area. I don't know if that covers what you're looking for. That way you don't have to make another 2 or 3 different reserve accounts, because you've got, does that make sense?
Well, my question is, do we want to burn up the reserve account that we have, or do we want to figure out, we've got all this donation money sitting there. Shouldn't we be using the donation money?
For
and try-
these bills?
Yeah, or just use it in general. People donated for this reason.
Right, and
Why don't
move
we?
it along.
So then when you need to pave the basketball court again, you maybe got some reserve left.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all the same money.
Right.
But right now, all of that money is
earmarked
sitting
for-
in general fund. It's not sitting in any account that these guys can even access.
Right.
Can you access it?
I think the thought would be.
That's another good
Well,
question.
she said, she just said that we could, but I'm gonna look for clarification there.
I think what we have to do is we have to do the same thing before. The auditor has to
Tell
do it.
you.
But
We could do, I'm pretty sure, we've done amendments before. We can, pretty sure we can do that.
the question is, though, do you think that the board has the authority to spend those donations?
Well, there was a specific article in this report. That's what I went to.
Timber's
Too bad it's open in the room. Probably move it.
Holding the stage up, I think.
You're good. I didn't bring that one.
And what was the result of that vote?
What page are we looking at?
Article, page
It's 59.
59, article.
The article, though, only says accept or refuse. It doesn't say spend.
Spend,
Right,
correct.
and then
Never
money got
does.
changed to a lower amount.
Where is that?
It's 50, keep going.
Oh,
It's
50,
59, Article
59.
12.
oh, Article 12.
Well,
Oh, acceptance of donations and authorizes us to accept or to refuse. Oh, that's in,
So
okay.
we can, or, we're either gonna allow us to take donations or not. I
Right.
imagine you would say no. But that
Right.
doesn't help us in how we
As far
access
as
the money.
expending it.
Right.
Yeah, Bernie,
Can I speak?
sure.
Wouldn't you be able to spend anything in this fiscal year that you accepted? Because, it says right on the check, gazebo or rec department. And then if you have anything left over, wouldn't that have to go to your
From,
Not
reserve?
I
necessarily.
imagine this, imagine if someone gives us $100,000 as a gift. Should we just run out and spend $100,000 on a park?
Don't know.
I bet we can't.
Well, my question is when you go to town meeting, are the townspeople authorizing that department, not just rec, meaning any department? Are you saying that department, we're only gonna fund X amount of money? Or are we saying you can only spend X amount of money?
We're only giving you.
Are you sure, okay, that's my
Well, yeah,
question.
It's an auditor question.
Because
but
you can take that either way.
I'm just thinking, the money that comes in goes into the general fund, but.
All money
could
goes
be-
to the general.
Could be labeled,
Right.
could be, if the check is labeled, if you get a donation and it says $500,
Right,
and it just says donation,
right.
you could do anything, couldn't you do anything you wanted with that? But
But-
if you get a donation that says $500 for the gazebo,
then, okay, so why can't I use that $500 off from their budgeted dollar amount to do use tax relief, is my question. Now, I'm not saying that I'm trying to take the
No,
money away
I
from the
know.
rec, but I wanna make sure we're doing this the proper way.
I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not trying to tell you what the proper way is, because I don't.
Right, because I think, I mean, they are doing a really good job, and and there's a lot of money being raised, and I wanna make this right, and how do we do this so we all don't get in trouble later?
Does Article 13 cover that? I'm just asking, and maybe not because the way it's worded, it says undesignated.
Which article is that, Jim?
It's the $10,000 that they can spend up to before we have to have a special town meeting. I don't know if the wording's what they're looking for, I don't know.
Yeah.
In the event of
I would
overdrafts,
suggest
That's in the amount of.
that pay
Yeah.
this out of this
Yes.
reserve, this recreation reserve, and then just make sure that you have an article in your next town meeting that takes these and puts it back in rec reserve, takes your donations.
But we still, I don't feel like we have an answer. Can we spend the rec reserve, or do we need?
You can spend the rec reserve, yes.
The board can.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a reserve.
So that one we have an answer to.
Correct. If we use the rec reserve to pay these bills for the materials that we're looking at, has the rest of your budget been impacted by in any way by these projects? So you're right on schedule.
Yeah. I was gonna ask on something tonight, but
So far, so
this needs
good.
to be a priority, because that bill needs to get paid.
Yeah, we don't, these people gotta be paid.
Right.
Yep, I get that.
So,
Now, you also, there's pond silt bill coming too, right?
for 400,
I think it's like 400 to 500 yards at $50, so it's gonna be between $1,200 and $1,500. So I think between the compost and the Haley bill, that's gonna mostly
Wipe
expend
out the reserve account.
most of the reserve. And then the next set of bills, we thought we would apply towards the donations.
We need to make sure we can spend that
I
donation
say that's
before you
the next
create
question.
any more bills.
If we can't access those donations,
Well, then what's the point of us going out?
well,
fundraising?
you may have to wait till next year. We don't know the answer to that. We
Correct.
may have access to them this year. We may need a special. I know it's
I
inconvenient,
recommend a
but
special, because we've got people that are,
I don't see there would be a big problem. But specials
No,
cost money.
that's what I'm saying though, is this all needs to be
You
clarified.
can't we just can't just start printing checks.
I
Right.
wish we'd have known this before we got started.
I wish we had too.
I mean, I don't see the big issue, I mean, it's,
You're only budgeted to spend X amount of money,
But
period.
they were restricted funds, people wrote right on the check what.
I understand that, that's what I just asked the question. When people do that, what does that mean? Are you allowed to spend over that? That's what we need clarification on.
I presume it's a fairly easy answer for him and I.
I suspect that they probably could help us.
I mean, we keep
Yeah.
trying to go forward, and it seems like something like this, and it's not you folks' fault, but then it takes 20 steps backwards.
Yeah.
We've made great progress this year, and here we sit again, where we're gonna have to make a abrupt halt again? That's very frustrating.
The funds need to be, make sure we have them and we can spend them before we can keep
You
going.
got them. You got them on paper right here for 40, 55 something. That's all I'm saying, Dale. I don't,
But what I'm saying is, this should have been talked about last year, honestly.
so
And it
put it in
wasn't.
the rec reserve. I don't understand why it can't go there. It's for rec. It says Veterans Rec Field right on your flyer, or
If the townspeople have, honestly,
That's
that's
it.
usually what the town does, not us.
Right.
That's the problem. We don't put money in a reserve account. We're not trying to stop you, we're trying
I
to
know,
make
Dale,
this
but we got
right.
stuff in works. This was gonna be mid-September, where we're gonna have a big grand opening that's tentatively scheduled, and
Well, I think before we can't come to any conclusion right now. We need to find out how we can get at this money. If it requires a special, then that's a discussion for us to have. It may not, but I would say that's probably our worst case scenario. And we'll know by next week.
Especially you can allow.
We just need enough people to show up and have a
You
legal
can allow
vote.
any funds you want if you
Right.
can get the people to
We-
vote for it.
Right.
Yeah.
can you at least pay that bill?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
We have the
That's all
authority to
reserve.
take that out of reserve.
You have
Yes.
X amount of money in a reserve account right now, that's not an issue.
So
What
let me
the
ask you this
issue
way,
is
if we-
everything that's in donation,
In my
how do we make
operational
that right?
budget deal, to keep us kind of going at this point, can we use some of that money, then once you folks find out,
You can take every bit of this right out of your operations budget if you want to and not touch your reserve account. That's your budget. I mean, am I
Well,
wrong?
now, here's the risk you run. I mean, again, I'm just devil's advocate, just be prepared. If it turns out that we need a special, it turns out you don't get the vote you want, you can run out of money.
So where's that money go?
It's still sitting there.
It's in general fund.
You just can't willy-nilly pull that money out. We don't have that
Accept
authority.
donations, I guess. If
They'll be
you can't
helpful.
use it for the earmark things that it's for. I'm just trying to understand.
It's just an accounting and it's just a procedural.
Right.
I had a building, a town building that was hit by a vehicle, and I could not use the insurance funds to fix the building until the town voted at a special town meeting
Right.
that I could spend that money to fix the building.
Yeah, we definitely need to have a meeting fast, because we gotta
I
figure
mean,
out what we can do from here.
The other thing too.
donations are theirs. I mean, that's
Yes.
not, that's
That is-
not,
that's
that
right.
issue.
We're not-
It's just
Right.
when can we access it?
How?
That's, I mean, it's your money. It's definitely, there's no question about that. It's
Right.
just when can we,
Really,
when
how?
can we, okay,
Yeah, if we have the authority, it's easy.
Right.
If we need a town vote to do it, it's cumbersome.
right.
And that's it won't be hard to find the answer to that.
Right.
Call MMA, that will know.
Yep.
The only other thing that I would suggest is her number, she says you have for donations, is different than the number you said you have.
Yeah, I have
So-
5,200.
Well, I'm just, like I said, when you gave me the paper tonight, Lois, it says 41, then I put plus 1,500 from the Masons.
Yeah, but if I add the 1,500 to what I have 6,700.
Yeah.
It's even
So-
I don't
better.
know what you gave me, so I don't know.
Well, which,
Well, is the difference another 1,500?
So that money, I mean,
This is this
would it be
account,
available
and we knew this check
next
came
year?
in.
We don't know the
Okay.
this is a
answer.
Okay.
receipt.
If it requires a vote,
Right, we broke it
legislative
down by
body,
2 years,
Yep.
2017.
you might have to wait till next year.
I see.
And then
Okay.
you
May not
have,
even
If it
get it.
requires a vote, and we can have a special
16.
and get it done.
I see.
Right. If it
Okay.
doesn't require a vote, the three of us
okay,
can
so
decide.
that's not added.
Jeopardy is if it has to go to
Okay,
town
that's
vote.
what I'm saying.
The whole thing could get
That's okay,
$5, I
okay.
may not ever see it.
Yeah, so we're at
No.
now?
See, this
Sure.
is what we did.
That's
When I
okay,
had
yeah.
Alvina
It's in
run it,
general
and she did
fund.
it right from,
Then that's
So-
gotta change.
This number should be
It's
what?
not, it's no different than any other amount.
Just- Okay,
But it
that's
was
fine.
donated for them.
Correct, so
I
that's,
understand, but it's not as simple as that.
correct.
This is your total 53.
That's what I'm saying though, is
So it's-
just because something
this
is
much
donated
more.
for them,
So it's 58,
doesn't necessarily
18,
mean
Okay,
that it's on
68,
top of their
68.
budget. It could be in lieu of your tax dollars. It all depends on how you want to read that law.
I see, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But most importantly, we can't just pull
Right.
money out of accounts.
Right.
Without
Right.
the right authority.
Right.
So we'll research that and we'll get an answer quickly. And if we need a special,
We'll cross
we'll
that bridge.
we'll cross that bridge. But
I'm kind of hoping it's like an error that these should have just automatically gone into the reserve account and we could do an abatement and have the auditor adjust her and be all set.
I would rather pay this bill from the donations than from the reserve if I could.
Well, honestly, the only way you're going to do that, either way, you would have to put that donation money in the reserve. Because right now, your donation money is technically in general fund.
Yeah, now,
that's what I'm saying, though.
If you could put donation money into the reserve automatically, but again,
You can't.
if you had a check for $100,000 to help the town isn't necessarily going to agree that that all goes into the reserve.
Right.
So I get it.
Okay.
Okay.
So do we want to pay those or no? We wanna
Pay
wait?
those,
Yes.
Pay those from the reserve.
Yes.
Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that, what do you got, two?
Two.
2 bills.
Those 2 invoices get paid out of the rec reserve account.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Vote? Unanimous. You said you had something else you wanted to
I do,
talk about.
I know it's not on the agenda, but it just kind of come up this week.
Good time for it.
We had Morris with them from Select Fencing come down and look at the area. Jason had measured it out, and we'd like to see if it's okay to go ahead and get pricing on a cedar rail type fencing on 2 sides to protect the investment that you've the town's got there, is whether it's through donations or, I'd like to, to pull some from my operational account. He said there's a donation from Pirate that could come in. But that would pay directly, so we don't get this confusion.
I think he has a right to get a quote on any project you want.
I think that'd be good. Why don't you move it forward, get a quote? Then you can come back and say, this is what it costs, this is what I want to pull, what Jason through Pirate Rec can do.
By then we'll know if we have any access to those funds.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that fixed by then.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to get a quote.
They're also, Karina is also pursuing a grant for the fencing too. So
Yeah.
we've got like 3 different ways we're trying to do it, obviously
Yeah.
to avoid having to, be taxpayer money per se.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking for me, but I hope you don't think that what we're trying to do is hinder you. I mean, it's not, you guys are doing a really good job up there. I just, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that all of this is done properly so it doesn't come back around on any of us.
Right.
No, nothing will slow you down quicker than if we
Do it
mess up
wrong,
the disbursement of these funds.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Just to bring you up to date where things are at too, and jump in anytime here. I met with the state representative on inland fisheries and water, as kind of in between the town manager situation here. We've looked at those grants. It looks like we're going to try to stay away from them a little bit because it's a lot of matching money, a lot of little hoops you got to jump through. There is one out there, but you have to wait a year. So we're looking at it on the walking trail. It's like a 50-50, and we've got a lot of that through the in-kind already. So we can use that. And it would also help with the brand new bathhouses that we're looking at. And the bathhouses would only be 2 holes, a male and a female. That way we don't have a lot of cleanup, whatever, or maintenance not that way. So those are things that we've looked forward to on that. A year away, just letting you know where we're at. There's also a community grant that Rhonda Taylor's looking into. If we don't get the state one, that could help us with the bathhouses. And then we could even go another year if we had to on the walking trail that way, if we don't win the... Because you have to put your stuff in really early. And Rhonda said, I don't know if she's the one doing our grants for us. But it's quite a book, if you will, to jump through those hoops and stuff. So that's why we're going to wait another year, let things, get these 2 pieces done. And like I said, we're looking for a big grand opening celebration deal in late September when the gazebo gets finished. I don't know what else to add. We did widen the road a little bit going towards the dam, just to try to help the parking and accessibility that way. And the fencing is another thing we've looked at. We thought a cedar type fence instead of a chain link, because we thought it would look better with access so that the snowmobile people can still do their thing. So that I don't know what else.
I mean, other than that, we had 2 big work days. I can't remember the exact dates.
June, the second weekend of June.
The second and third weeks in June, so we hauled in a bunch. We had like 4 trucks or whatever and some equipment. We hauled it all in. They graded it out with the town dozer, so that looked pretty good. Then the next weekend, we had to, our big problem was getting someone with an excavator, and then Brian Howard at Gordon Contracting said that, I didn't realize he had it, but he said, I have one that will, with the thumb on it. So he agreed to bring it down sort of at the last minute, so that kind of changed our plan around a little bit. So on that second or third Saturday, we had another big, 7-hour work day or whatever with volunteers, and I forget how many green sheets on the volunteer list there are. There's probably like 10 people probably.
6 or 8.
How many?
6 or 8.
6, 8, okay. But we did that, we hauled away a lot of the stumpage and stuff, and so that's pretty good. Then we had, the following week, I think we had to ask the town to haul in a few more loads of pond silt to finish out one of the corners closest to the dam. And so we're getting close. One of the challenges right now is the whole well situation. The property has 2 wells. One well is actually near the park, near that big rock, but no one can seem to locate the well head, the piping, because it's buried in the ground. And every time they dig a hole, the water gushes in, so then they're reluctant to dig too deep because they don't want to hit it. Now, there is another well in front of the concession building across the street there that had water in it, and but I guess at some point rocks or something got put down in it, and it's not usable now. But I guess one thought would be just to have maybe Doug Haskell, a local contractor, could drill down the existing piping and clean it out. He said it'd be pretty easy because it's just small rocks. The drill is made to drill fresh virgin ground, so drilling down the existing casing would be pretty quick. Plus we know where it is, and electricity is right there. There's a power pole, so we might be better off just forget about the one across the street near the big rock and just use the one in front of the rec building. but we gotta, come to some determination of that, so that's one of the things.
Yeah, one of the things why we gotta get a meeting.
Yeah.
You mentioned the town moves some materials for you. Public Works moves some materials for you? Is that the request that you spoke to me about? So are we all on the same page now? Okay.
I believe so.
So all requests for any involvement on town equipment, town people, goes to the town manager.
Thank you for letting us use that bulldozer. Butch has also been a godsend too, so if you see Butch, you should thank him.
He was playing tonight.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
He's a bulldozer whisperer.
Oh, he's definitely saved us some change.
So I know I asked you and you said no, but you have no intention of using your regular budget for any of this project?
Only the fencing if we have to protect what we've got there, and I'm only talking, because we got a quick quote over the phone from Selectmen fencing of like $3,000. It'd be in 10-foot sections, we'd have some openings, and then over closer to the dam, we might have to shorten up a little bit so that they can turn around. But that was just over the phone. He said if we wanted to really truly do it, he would come down, take some measurements, and sharpen his pencil, and I know Morris, he would definitely do that, because he's done every fence we've got down there, and he treated us very nicely.
So what's your feeling on that?
I want to reword your question.
Go ahead.
Your budgeted dollar amount for the rec program is what you need to operate the rec program. You didn't put any funds in that budget for expansion of the new field.
Right.
Okay, that's what I
Well, but it always includes some type.
Well, there's a slosh, I
every
understand.
Minor project.
So
Correct, but I
with that
mean
in
your
mind,
normal, regular
you couldn't
operating.
spend $3,000 on a fence.
That's,
I was looking to do half. The Pirate Rec people were gonna do the other half. So I was looking at 1,500, some way, some form. I feel confident that I could do that and still be able to operate. We've kind of got through our biggest season, which is the baseball, softball, basketball, and soccer. Soccer's more bigger than basketball.
you got a head count from last weekend?
He would. I was out of town, unfortunately.
What's that?
Good thing.
Yeah.
You should have tried to drive through our
It
town.
was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, any idea how many people were in and out of there?
That's a lot.
That's usually the way it is when you host like that.
What was it? Did you have a tournament?
Yep.
We were they call it Central Maine Softball League, but basically it's all the way down to Newport and Palmyra, over to Dover, Milo, Corinth. So because they like our facility with 2 fields back to back, whatever, they always want us to host it, so.
If you'd have charged 50
Good or
cents a
bad,
head,
we
you'd have
try to
had
do
your
that,
field
so.
done.
I'm gonna say, well, that's a whole other story, but any kind of a, and I'm sure people would pay $2 to get in, and, to raise some funds. You guys would pay for the fence in a weekend.
I mean, usually a lot of it comes through the concessions, that's why Pirate
Sure.
Rec is trying to donate, some of the money from the concessions back to the gazebo field thing.
Yeah.
But really the norm is, right or wrong, is only basketball generally has admission fees. Everything
Wow,
else, for the most
interesting.
part, is, at all locations, not just here, is more or less free, and then you make your money through the concession stand.
Except for tournaments.
I don't know.
I played many dollars to go to
Yeah.
field hockey tournaments in high school.
Well, it doesn't even work that way in public school anymore. If your kid plays sports, there's an athletic fee. I mean, I paid them for years. So, it's not unusual. Is there anything else?
So I guess the next big part is here, next week or so, Brian is having another piece of equipment to add to his skid steer that's called a laser grader, and that will help get a true grade on the field. So it's an attachment that will go to the front of it, and it'll set the grade on the laser, and then the operator just drives straight, and the thing will go up and down, left and right, and then that gets a true grade, within an eighth of an inch or whatever, his precision.
Crazy.
I'm surprised you don't have one of those.
I don't.
So he's waiting for that to come in. The place that he buys all this stuff is out of stock on that item, so he had to get it in, and then he's out on vacation for a few days. So I think it still will be, maybe the week after the 4th of July week, maybe. And then, so we really got to get the lower section where the well and the gazebo is going to go. We got to get that graded to like whatever the grade level is going to be.
He was actually, that's where he was tonight,
Yeah,
is in that area.
yeah, that big hump, he had to push that.
And we kind of painted it, but he probably covered it tonight where the gazebo approximately is gonna go. So,
Do you know the mowing contract? Do you pay that out of your budget?
I budget for that every year.
Okay, so and that's every month you pay that?
They must write a check, I won't
okay.
agree, got the,
But it comes right out of your budget.
Right, it's part of my budget, yeah.
Okay.
And he has done a good job, so all I've had to do was call him or text him, and if we needed something, he's been right there, so. And Peter's been mowing the other side right now. I mean, obviously, that's gonna be something as things finish up, we're gonna have to look at, so.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna have to, we'll revisit this shortly. Lois once Lois has an answer, she'll give you a call, and it'll either be good news or complicated news.
Hopefully it's not, I can't, I
I
don't know.
We don't
yeah,
know yet, though.
I don't blame
But
you.
please, Jimmy, get through with Rhonda or whoever's keeping track of your accounts to see what you have for donations. And
I know she's been working with Alvina, but I appreciate
Yep.
what she gave us tonight too, and I will double check with Rhonda.
I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
whatever direction we have to go in, we have a real number that both people,
Yeah.
your committee and the town agrees upon, so we can make this happen once and it's done right.
But the 14-2, we definitely can access at any point.
Yes.
Brian's planning on
For the
starting
gazebo.
building a gazebo
Right.
late August, just because of his own
That's
schedule.
there.
But we still got groundwork to get ready for too there, but that's his schedule right now, that's why I said September for the opening.
Well, I mean, technically, to me, once everything you're doing right now is part of the field. When you start doing the groundwork in the gazebo area, that's part of the gazebo.
Okay.
Now, whether or not you want to spend funds out of that to do the groundwork and you don't have enough to do the thing, that's up to you guys. I mean, it's your account, your reserve, but that's all part of that project is the groundwork and everything in that specific area.
Well, like I said, we'd have to possibly use the town voter when it comes time to move that stone. We already know what depth we gotta be and where, and all that to make it happen for where the gazebo's gonna go. But that's, we're still a ways away on that piece.
I'm pretty sure Butchie can run that as good as a bulldozer.
Probably.
Brian might move it too.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna
Brian,
have,
yeah.
when they mix the sand in the compost, he's gonna do it with a front end loader and some other stuff. So he already said, once we get that other section with the gazebo is going to the grade, then they'll just take his excavator, they'll paint the dimensions on the ground, they'll dig it out a foot or so, then take all the crush, then they'll pack it down, put it in the fabric, then put it in the rocks.
I'd love to try that motor. I think is there anything else? I think.
No, I'm
Yep.
taking up quite a bit of your time.
No, well, we
No,
appreciate the
it's-
update, and we don't
you-
want to curb your enthusiasm in the least.
And-
We just,
And I went up the other night, and it's amazing the amount of work that's been done up there, and I can appreciate the amount of work that's been done. I mean, it looks beautiful and it looks smooth, and you say, wow, and you realize how much is under there that you don't see. That it's really remarkable. So you're doing an amazing job, and so I think it's great.
So is the board still kind of in the same position that access to the beach and that stuff will all be done through a central parking area? So you won't be able to drive to the dam, you won't be able to drive right to the water edge of the beach, right? That's,
Honestly, I don't think the board's really been involved in any of that.
yeah, not that I'm aware of.
You have a lot more control by doing it that way.
I'm not saying I don't disagree.
No, I'm just saying that's a huge difference, just by doing what Peter had done.
So we have no idea what you just asked us, so.
Wow.
The original talk, when this all kind of got started, the development stages, we bought it and talking what we were looking to develop, it was talked that have parking where you could see who's there. Not letting the cars drive down to the beach out of sight, out of mind, and doing what they do.
Right.
Or to the dam, the same thing, because they're out of sight, out of mind. But if you block that off and do it so that you're not blocking the snowmobile thing again,
Right.
we're going to have parking on that roadside that goes to the beach. That's why we just widened it a little bit, and there's room between the multi-purpose field to do that.
I gotta go down and look at it, I've never been.
I think
Is
that's a
the boat
great
launch
idea.
there as well? Is the boat launch?
Oh,
Boat launch is very accessible. That's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
wide open.
That's straight in.
That's
So
straight
if
in.
you launch your boat and you wanted to park your truck and trailer, you'd go to this central area that you're
Which you
referencing.
basically have now.
They have that
That's
now for
right
boat
there.
launch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right
It's
there.
But
the
when you-
beach that,
Yeah.
you can
It's-
drive down in
yeah.
there, but
Yeah, it's
I think-
it's secluded, and
yeah,
and-
you can't
yeah,
see who's down there, what's going on.
yeah.
Which some people want.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't even know who would determine that. Probably the Parks and Rec Committee would
Yeah,
make a
I mean-
You'd make a
to the board.
recommendation to us and we would say,
Well, I
hey,
think we've already did it.
Good.
I mean, other
Good.
town.
Then we don't need to make a
kind of left
decision
it
on
the
it.
concept.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's.
keep
ever-
going with the
right.
concept. I
Good.
mean, I haven't heard,
Makes it seem logical.
Yeah.
I was down there the other night and I parked at the Rocks and walked down. Didn't bother me any.
From a policing standpoint, I can see some advantages to it.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people aren't using the beach because of some of the things that might have been going on from people that could drive down in
Right.
there. So I think by not allowing that to happen, it might make it more appealing for everybody to want to get down there. So,
I'll definitely go look at it. I haven't been down there.
There's just a couple rocks in each drive
Sure.
to keep it blocked off.
the only thing to warn you, I was there the other night and I noticed somebody drove across.
We gotta move that set of rocks and went to the dam, back out into the road further, because
Once
like
we
you
have the cedar
said,
fence.
right, the cedar
Yeah.
fence will help that too.
Yep.
Good. That's great.
But yes, you're right, Gail, I saw that too.
Doesn't take long, does it?
I'm really surprised nobody's gone out.
The big thing is, I think, right or wrong, since people for many years have been able to drive right to the water's edge or drive right up to the dam, now they're gonna feel like you're taking something away from them, you know? and
Haven't
that's
heard
where
a
you get all
complaint
the
yet.
complaints. So, but every
Careful.
time that happens.
That's okay. I'll defend it. I mean, I don't mind it. I
Yeah,
think
no, I people used to do it a certain way.
Right, right.
Thank you for your time, I'm sorry we took so long. but
No, we had a lot to discuss. It's important.
Hopefully it goes our way, around the
Yeah.
town's way that we're
Yeah.
looking for,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the
I'm hoping,
Gaudisha
just,
piece.
I'm hoping to go short and easy. That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If it requires a vote, we should get in some sort of a routine of every year you vote to move
That's-
donations ahead. That should just be a standard item.
So
Right.
obviously, the school budget failed, so there'll be another vote for the school budget, so it could be added to that. Is that how it generally would work? No?
You gotta have a town meeting.
You gotta have an
You gotta
actual
have a
meeting.
town
Oh,
meeting piece, yeah.
oh, okay.
And you would want an actual meeting. You wouldn't want just people coming in to vote because you're gonna want to plead your case.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I just don't know how that would work.
Specials can work for you or against you.
Yeah.
And you guys, in instance, it might work for you. Because you've got word of mouth and a lot of active members, and you just tell 50 people to show up and vote, and they probably will. So, but hopefully we don't need it.
Right.
All right, moving on.
All right, so I've contacted Phil Curtis. He said he needs 3 or 4 days notice. You don't care if you're there.
You're road commissioner.
Right. So, I mean,
I'd be happy to go, but you know, I don't want to hem you as far as saying, oh, well, I can't go that day when it's good for the
I'm
two.
available at any time.
I pretty much am too.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
unless I'm
Me
in
too.
Portland, and you've got
Right,
to
so you
drive by
both
me.
wanna
to
go.
get started. Well, the
Yeah,
only reason I would
I might
separate us is if you thought it was, cumbersome as far as having two
Oh.
board members there.
Oh,
I don't care how many's there, honestly. I mean,
You're just gonna have to announce it in advance that you're having a workshop on the road, and the
Right.
two of us could go.
yes.
So if you're
That's
comfortable with
And
that,
I'm
we'll go.
comfortable with that. So
Okay.
I'll schedule it. Obviously, at this point, it's going to have to be after the 4th.
Yep.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week.
They cheated. I already took her down.
And if I have any dates come up that I want to black out, I'll let you know. Because I could get a call that says I need to go to Portland, and then I will tell you. I won't be
9,
there.
10, just so you know, but you can go ahead and go without me. I'm going to be away in Boston. So, but other
If
than
nobody else shows up and wants somebody to go
You'll
with you,
go.
you call and I'll go.
All right.
I'm going. I want to go.
I want somebody from town to go.
I
Because
want to go.
I was explaining
Yeah.
to Dale, I am not 100% familiar with all the roads. Yeah, I've been out on them a little bit, but I have to take a map.
Yeah.
So,
I'd
you
like to
guys
meet him.
know,
I'd actually just want to get to
Meet
them.
Phil?
Yeah.
he's a real nice guy.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go.
All right, so I had it briefly in my notes last week that you asked if we had a bidding policy. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Well, there was a discussion of the technicality of the bidding process, whether or not we have to advertise or not. Or
Right.
how we have to
right.
advertise.
That's right.
So we can try to save some money by doing it differently. That was.
May, it says right on the end of the first paragraph, the town manager may solicit bids directly from vendors.
So we have both
Perfect.
options.
So there you go.
We don't really need to
Bingo.
change it because
Right.
that was only the concern. I didn't want to move away from, in the past, we've spent a lot of money advertising in the newspaper and I just
Hasn't-
as soon not do that.
Right.
But I didn't want to not do that and then get ourselves in trouble either.
Right. And I did some research on the sand and salt. We have enough in the budget for salt to buy 300 ton. And in the sand, we only have like 2,000 yards. So
Okay,
that's a lot of salt for a little bit of sand.
So we need more sand, but we don't have a budget for it.
Well, you need to remember, we don't have a
But you
line
always
item budget.
have
Correct. You can spend it.
2,000 yards or 2,200, I guess, in the past.
25, I think is what.
So, I mean, we may be able to save a little bit on the salt, not spend, I mean,
Oh, I
and we
see.
can order, order 5 loads of salt, and then if, as that gets mixed, we can say, well, give us
need
2
more.
more or 2 more.
I would definitely believe that if we actually get our pile mixed at the right, nice hot ratio, we're probably gonna use a lot less of it. Because, I mean, last year, Silver's Mills Road was literally black with sand, and it was not melting.
Nope, just a
frozen
slab.
If we get the right mixture in there, I would think the salt will actually do what it's supposed to do, and
Right.
we won't have to paint our roads black with dirt. So,
Well, the other thing about sanding too is you have to get it on early in
Yeah.
the storm. So we have to make sure we're paying attention to that. So, that's done.
I was looking, on another matter, in the minutes was the amount of sand that you guys put up last year.
2,200, I
yeah.
think,
I
is
They
what it was
reduced it,
last
because we had
year.
quite a bit left. We had enough left, they reduced it down a little.
Oh, so maybe these minutes were just the part that needed to be screened again. Was it like 1,800?
That's what gets screened. I believe.
Okay.
Can we back up a little bit?
Sure.
Under, it's not really part of, but when we talk about that paving project, even though we don't really know, we're waiting for his call on that, we still got like 5 culverts that need to be done. Other than the one culvert, which may be deeper, maybe a little, or maybe longer, depending on if we lift the road or if we don't lift the road. Could we start getting some bids going or get some quotes on getting some culvert work done?
Well, if, let's say Phil goes out and we like his strategy and we're gonna get a contractor out there, wouldn't the contractor do all of it? He's gonna bid
Yeah,
the
sure.
5 culverts, all the gravel,
Yeah.
he's,
Well,
rather than piecemeal it.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, we'd haul the gravel, or typically,
If it saves us money, we will.
yeah.
But he,
Yes,
okay, so let's
you
see.
do really need that piece, yeah.
I mean, and if a contractor's gonna be there doing all that road work, it's probably cheaper for him to do the culverts than a one-off.
Correct.
On a side note, you should really replace your culverts a year before you pave.
We try. Last 2 years, we've cashed in 40,000. 2 years ago was what, 30-some thousand the past year out of Public Works.
Yeah,
The
we-
the culverts that actually you're talking about changing that we need to do this year, those were
Were
cut
supposed to,
last year and
yeah.
was supposed to be done last year and didn't get done.
So that's a great idea. So the project should include next year's culverts
Culverts.
with the same, and
Yes.
you could all bid that whole thing. We're doing this road and this portion for next year, along with the ditching for next. You could get it all and get ahead. We've never been
Cool.
ahead.
I know, but for right now, my focus is to get our paving done.
Right. But I don't think it's a lot more work to get a plan started.
Right.
And if we never do it ahead, we'll never get it.
Right,
So-
right. We're never gonna be doing it the right way.
The results from this, then you gotta get your bids on for all of the ditching, culvert work, and we don't have actual pricing yet from paving companies, right?
Right.
That needs to go out very soon.
Yeah, I was again, because I was looking at minutes on something else, it was August that was done last year. Approved. The paving.
The bids were approved in August?
It's when you guys accepted them.
Okay.
So we're not
Not that
Not
far off.
crazy.
Yeah.
We
crazy.
go to the end of October for paving, you just have to make sure you're
Yep.
not too cold.
So there's no real action needed on that, is there?
Nope.
No. So where were we?
Item 7, new business.
Okay.
Oh, I should have put that under old business.
appointments.
Gary
Jerry
Salisbury.
Sudbury.
For constable. I called Tom Goulette, and he is a constable. There's no required training. There's nothing. Anybody can be a constable. You just need to be appointed by the select board to be a constable. So I talked to Gary, and if he's working in the realm of his animal control, he's not going to charge any additional fees by making him constable. If we want him to do something else that's one of our other ordinances, he's only going to charge us the same price that he would for animal control, which is $10 an hour.
So what would we want the constable to do?
Whatever ordinance that you have that
So
needs
enforcing ordinances. And that, or
If you have like a parking ordinance or something like that, but he specifically wants it for barking dog
barking
ordinance.
That was it.
Oh,
But that actually falls under his duties of, would that be
He
extra?
says
but he
no.
can't
No, that would not.
exercise
He can't
it.
exercise. He cannot summons and
Right.
for the barking dog because
So
He's
we
not a
have an
constable.
ordinance without a mechanism of enforcement, because we don't have a constable. And we can't, we wouldn't call the sheriff on a barking dog, he's not gonna respond to that.
Right.
That's, okay, I understand that.
Can we limit the scope of his duties as constable? It's saying only,
Well, it's only for the ordinances that we have.
well, and it's only
Oh.
what we call him for.
okay.
So,
So,
And we don't have to pay him anything extra?
No.
so I can't call him up as a citizen and say, hey, they're breaking this ordinance, Gary, go fix it.
No.
So that's what I'm wondering, that's why,
Well, I wonder what ordinance,
I don't know.
our ordinances
Or
are
parking
probably like
ordinance.
policies, there could be lots of them that we don't know about.
right.
But like the parking, or like our policy on parking, could I call him up and say, hey, that blue pickup's been sitting there for 24 hours, you need to come haul that off, or?
I think Gary would call the office.
I
knowing
believe
Gary.
so as well, I've known Gary forever, but.
I guess that would be if we had some guidelines that we wanted for him, that we should probably, maybe you could help us with that. But yeah, I think if we're gonna have an ordinance and he's willing to enforce the ordinance, seems logical, otherwise your ordinances are unenforceable.
And the constable, the role of constable, is it a yearly appointment? So, we could try it out. I
We
mean,
could do it as, for him under his scope of animal control.
right.
I mean, that's, you're
Right.
not giving me anything extra, or we
Right.
don't, at this time, because we don't know if we need it.
Right.
I have a question. What's this about the barking dog?
We have an ordinance, I guess, against
Yeah.
barking dogs.
All right,
That's what the town does.
explain what you mean. The dog is constantly barking, or he barks at certain times? I want to know, because my dog barks.
I don't, do we
I
have a
have no
copy of the
idea.
ordinance?
I don't have a copy of the ordinance. It's
Probably on the website.
That's the
On the
way,
website.
I'm gonna see if I can.
I don't have a computer. Well, anyhow, like, if somebody's coming up the driveway, I have very good watch.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like, no.
Me
It's
too.
like if you're gone all day to work and the dog barks all day long and the neighbor gets irritated, they're gonna call the animal control.
Oh, no.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would almost think it's more for an in-town issue,
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I've never
It's
read
when
the
you have
ordinance.
close neighbors.
Yeah, if it's annoying a neighbor and it's hour after hour after hour, that's what it's all about.
Right.
But not a dog that's barking in reaction to a squirrel or anything like that. Normal behavior of a dog.
Right, okay.
This is a dog that's been left and is barking and is distressed, I would imagine.
Yes. Yes.
Probably my mother would call on my dog. So we need to make a motion to
Yes.
appoint Gary.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we appoint Gary Sudbury as constable.
I'll second that.
Those in favor?
How are we doing for time?
Almost done.
5 of 6.
Oh, there we go.
Committee
I mean, we can
policy.
save that too if you want.
if we're not gonna do, if we're gonna table appointments, we can table policy.
Well, you've gotta have your policy done and discussed.
Let's discuss the policy then.
Okay. You see, I found this other policy on advisory committees.
Yeah.
And you can either somehow include this into your the new policy, you can, when you make your motion to accept your new policy, you can overwrite this policy, you can keep it in conjunction with this policy, however you want to do it. But just so that you know, this we did have. Ad hoc committee, advisory committee.
So we already have this.
Yes.
Is there any specificity with the number of?
On this advisory committee?
Yeah.
Nothing.
But
It says it's
what
set
is
by the board.
standing or regular boards, and then it's got numbers.
It's pretty much exactly how many does.
Did you see that?
Well, he's talking about this one.
Oh.
So this is what we have
I see, I
currently.
understand.
Yes, this one page is what is current. Everything else in your packet
Is
is
proposal.
the proposed.
I see. Oh.
The other factors.
I see.
The only thing, honestly, and I could be not thinking clearly, or whatever, is that when I think about how these are in the alternates, okay, because if we read this, this says that committee members, unless you changed it, because I was going off the one we had the other day, committee members are residents only.
Mhm.
Non-residents can be alternates.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I'm thinking of quorum, and so I'm thinking more or less, your alternates are supposedly almost like committee members in training, or the non-residents. So, if you have a five-member board, that means you have to have 3 members there to have a quorum to have your meeting. If you're running a committee with 5 members and 2 alternates, that means 1 member of a standing committee can be present, and your 2 trainees are there, and they can still hold a meeting. And your 2 alternates can be non-residents. So I don't know if I like that theory.
Take out the non-resident.
Well, I don't care about that per se. I don't know if you really need the 2 alternates. That
Well,
way
alternates
there,
aren't necessarily,
alternates are voting members. So that, I'm just thinking the quorum factor.
right.
If you're gonna have 5, you can go all the way to 1 member showing up, and then 2 alternates, and they can have a meeting. Whereas if you have the 5 with 1 alternate, at least you'd have to have 2 members of your regular committee,
That's a good point.
and then 1 alternate, then they could have a meeting. And these are minimums. I mean, this isn't per se.
Right.
The way the planning board did it, if I remember correctly, is if one person was missing, even though they had a quorum, the alternate,
Always voted.
Always
yeah, he
Yeah.
participated.
Yeah,
That's
voted.
right.
Right.
That's the way this would work as well.
That's, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm looking at it, taking it to the worst case,
Okay.
not the
Yeah.
best case example, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did we require a quorum of sitting members?
No,
No. See,
it's
No.
quorum, period.
quorum, right,
Okay.
right. It could have been the 2 alternates and
And of all of these, really, the planning board is the most important. I mean, they're granting permits and in terms of,
I mean, personally, I would
Right.
rather simplify it and cut the numbers and just say, this is what we're gonna do. Whatever, as a board, if we decide 5-2, 5-1, just make it that way for all of them.
yeah, the appeals board is totally different. So are you suggesting you'd prefer 1 alternate as opposed to 2?
I would.
On all of them. Now, the budget committee, you can see that the planning board, the board of appeals, and the rec, I'm not gonna reword that, rec/parks committee, have the 5 and 2, or 1. The budget committee, we don't have the same. It says 3 voting members. So do you want 5? The treasurer, well, in this case, the treasurer and the town manager is the same person.
And either way, they're not gonna be able to be a voting, the treasurer, town manager wouldn't be voting because they're a
Right, they're
town employee,
advisory.
they're advisory. So I would still keep it 5/1.
Five.
One of the,
Because even at 5, it's gonna be a very hard choice to get us to 5.
yeah,
I mean, that's the only committee that we have a really good people want to be involved in.
Right.
the planning board, one of the reasons for alternates is the planning board takes a while to get up to speed.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of law and statute, and they're working on ordinances that go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I can see an advantage to having two people that are kind of in the mix.
And you can, in this one, you can say they have to be
Residents.
Just take out the non-resident.
Yeah, then
as an
is that, if
alternate.
that's what the sticking point is.
My thing is the quorum issue. That's why I don't like it. I just think that,
But, so it's not the non-resident part
no,
of it?
it's the quorum issue.
I don't know why we would want non-residents on any.
I mean, it says
Yeah.
non-resident property owners, so at
Correct.
least,
So you could be
yeah.
a summer resident.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I understand that.
But,
Which in
yeah,
some
why don't we-
situations isn't a bad deal, because, you know, we do have some citizens up here for summer times that are very experienced or knowledgeable. It could be a benefit.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that means they're only showing up in the summer when they're here.
Correct.
So that's,
Well, and you do have a membership, amount that they have to attend.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
I could see a scenario, but it would be a pretty narrow application where you want to have a non-resident.
But there again,
I guess if you couldn't fill the seats.
these are to formally have the committee. This isn't to discourage anybody from being a part of it. You know, it's just like the planning board. If you've got 12 people that want to be active and be a part of that group, there's nothing stopping them from going to be a part of that group.
Right. They just can't vote.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I really see ourselves, other than the budget committee, but the other committees tend to have a harder time getting the quorum
Members, that's
to
right,
getting the minimum numbers. Say
That's
anything
right.
about making their minimums higher.
that's right.
Right.
So I mean, I understand your point about, in one side of the discount would be all right to have more, but I just think more is not always a good thing.
The planning board, it concerns me a little bit. I was there. It's not an advisory committee like the rest of these. It has to function for our town to function.
Yep.
And I also know he's had some challenges with attendance, and he's
We rely on those alternates all the time.
heavily.
But that's because we've never removed members that don't show up to get new members.
Right, well, that's true.
That's valid.
That's true.
But,
I mean-
but like I said, it's not advisory. They have a different role.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the rules should be different.
Right, so,
They
right,
should,
it
they should
needs-
enforce the rules.
Yep,
Yeah,
you're right. Right. So,
And then, I mean, once we get this, that even brings us to the bigger problem, is how do we get more people involved? So we do have people that want to help serve on some of these committees.
If you know people, you ask them.
Well, I know, I do all the time, but it's just,
Well, I'm hoping that if we provide the structure that we're kind of imagining, and that we have people on there that, are gonna abide by the behavior that we're looking for, that people are gonna feel more like they wanna get involved.
right.
Some of these committees have not been that enjoyable.
right,
I've been on a couple. So,
okay.
I like this, basically.
So, so which ones is this changing? The way this stands now? The planning board is exactly the way it stands now, correct?
Are there 5 sitting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then 2 alternates.
Yeah. So the question is whether we're gonna go to 2 or 1. And I'd be interested to see what Jerry.
I would be interested to have Jerry's opinion, honestly.
Yeah, because
He's
he's gonna
been
know.
the head of that committee for so long, he
Yeah.
can tell you right off the bat whether or not he don't have a problem, or doesn't foresee a problem.
Yeah.
Or if he had a concern, then he could bring it up.
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think of, yeah.
And I would almost let him steer his own committee on that. But I mean, no, but I mean, if he says that 2, he feels he has to have 2, then I would go with
Right,
his
right.
judgment, is what I meant.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and like I said, I really don't have a problem with treating the planning board differently than an advisory committee. It's not the same thing.
Do we want to take out the work in collaboration with the land use committee, because we don't have that, unless you want a land use committee. But usually your planning board does your,
Correct.
so, I mean, keep in mind, this is copy and pasted.
Sure, sure,
This is 4 different towns'
Mm-hmm.
sure.
policies.
So that should come out.
Yeah. This was the only section I hadn't proofread.
Okay.
Well, so if we back up though, Mike, you said it's on the first page there, wasn't it?
It's on the,
I meant the resident, non-resident.
yeah. Non-resident property owners and non-resident municipal employees may serve as alternate or ex officio members at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. You want that out?
Well, you know what? It's at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. So I guess if you had a committee that was lacking interest, and you had you would at least have that option. You
Mhm.
don't have to see them. So,
I just scrap it.
you want to just take non-resident out?
I would take that whole verbiage out because
Okay. Fine with me.
Yep. me
Because
too.
we've always basically had or I've always thought it was a standing rule that you didn't want your municipal employees being on committees because
Right.
there can be a bias of opinion there. So you wouldn't want them on there.
My employee in Bradford, she was on 2 or 3 different committees.
She was,
She was on the budget committee and the rec committee,
and she was a resident.
and she was a resident.
See, but Albine has always been an active role, but she's non-voting.
Mm.
She just more of an advisory role when she's at all the meetings.
She
But
can
we never
maybe-
counted her vote, right?
No.
Well, we was never supposed to count her vote.
I think she did this,
I think there was a couple things this year she did.
yeah, I think.
Yeah, but wait a second, remember Ken said that she wasn't supposed to be at the meetings when I asked?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's gone back and forth.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
That's part of why we're doing it.
Yeah, that's why we want to have some structure, so we all, it's on paper
Yeah.
and it moves it forward in the right direction.
Well,
All right.
she should do that.
Well, and this is non-resident, oh, okay, municipal employees may serve. Okay, so we're taking that all out.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
And that was the only thing I had on the front page.
Are you the Board of Appeals?
No. Well, for HR issues, but not for the planning board. We have an appeals board for planning board issues.
And assessment issues and stuff like that.
The website has a list of committees and boards as
Yeah.
somebody last,
We're seated.
yeah.
The appeals board is rarely called upon.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it
They don't
yet.
meet unless there's,
No, I haven't seen it yet.
right, they don't meet unless.
Actually, that's what Cynthia Hall, she was saying, she's on it. and I
My
can't-
mother's on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And do we know whether it's 5 and 2? We don't know.
I don't know the makeup, but they don't, it's
Yeah.
not, again, it's not an advisory committee. They don't meet and
Right,
vote
right,
on
right, right.
things.
Only
They would
when,
vote on a case. If a camp owner feels like he didn't get the proper ruling, that's
Right.
where he might end up.
okay.
But those, that committee members is not part of,
Other departments of the town, the list committees.
that Board of Appeals isn't the same as our HR issue.
No, we
Okay.
we
That
have
is
for
us
personnel.
only,
Yep.
nobody else.
That's my understanding.
Our board's different, don't they have term limits and there's a whole different animal in a committee? I mean, you keep saying the planning board is different. I think it is. It's a,
It's got term.
No, but even
limit,
these
yeah.
are, even our committees are supposed to have terms.
Yeah, these are all 3-year terms, staggered 3-year terms.
you're gonna stagger them all.
Yeah, that would be new. We've never done that
Yeah.
before, but I think that's, yes, that's
Well, I know
correct.
the forest committee was had staggered terms.
Mhm.
Why, I don't know.
I don't even know when the last time they met.
I'd ask John, but it's been a couple of years anyway.
I mean, there was concern about it, but I mean, what,
They planted the trees, they,
yeah, they are who they are. I mean,
Trees are growing.
that's,
kind of keep an eye on it. And they haven't needed to do anything. The trees take a while to grow.
So we have the road committee and the community forest committee. Do you want me to set them up the same as the planning board, the
Yep.
board of appeals, the recreation, the budget?
Yep.
And then still keep the ad hoc or temporary committees as needed, because we also have Abby Fowler
Yep,
and town hall.
yep,
correct.
yep.
Okay.
Or, yeah, you can do it however you want. If you want to list them all out the way you've got them listed, or if you want to list all the committees and then the verbiage of how they're all set up, because they're all basically, it's all the same, it's just,
Right.
Mhm.
So, and just the planning board, maybe 5 and 2 alternates, everything else 5 and 1?
Right, because we would, yeah, right now I think there is only one alternate on the planning board.
Yeah, and I think we'll seek some guidance from
Right,
Jerry
right, from
on that.
Jerry.
yeah, my opinion is, I would recommend whatever Jerry thinks his
For the
committee
planning
needs.
board.
For the planning board.
Yeah,
If he thinks 5 and 1 would work like the rest of the committees, great. But if he doesn't feel that that's a good idea for the town, Jerry's been sitting there now for how long?
Since I was in high school.
So he trumps all of us when it comes to that committee.
And everything else
looks good.
and
Yes.
what
Looks
about
good.
this policy?
Which one is
This is
that?
the advisory, policy on advisory committees.
Okay, and we clearly, on this right here, clearly as far as attendance and removal of that type of thing, everybody's okay with.
Oh, on page 2.
Yeah, it's gonna be up to the chairman of those committees
Correct.
to be enforcement.
They're gonna have to police themselves.
They
It's
come to
not
us and
our,
say,
Yeah, that's not our job.
not our role, but the
Right.
rules have to be in place for them to be able
right,
to.
but they'll come to us and say, you
Yep.
know, I need 2 people to replace, and
Right.
we'll do that.
Okay.
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 Minutes and recording, yeah, take notes.
Now, that's gonna be, the next part is gonna be, none of our committees, except for lately with Jerry, but I mean, we don't get,
Jerry's always taken minutes, Jody always took them, but we just kept, I don't know, did you turn them in? They were just.
I would give them to Jerry, and I didn't know what he did with them. I know he always wanted a copy for the town office,
Yeah,
or for the files.
and we always approved them, we voted.
Yep,
on them.
yep, yep.
So they just, I don't know that the board ever purposely looked at
Correct.
them, but there were records.
Oh, yeah.
no, I'm not saying there wasn't, I'm saying, but.
But
none of
that's,
our-
again, that was different, that was the planning board.
Yeah, yeah.
For legal purposes, he had to have records of all that.
Right.
But I mean, like right now, you have a lot going on in the rec department. If, I think it's great that they came in, but I would at least really like to have a quick verbiage of what's going on.
Well, if you're planning on a fence, and you're thinking you'd like to get that into this year's budget, that would be a great thing for your committee to bring to us.
Right. 'Cause plus we have the economic development committee.
So minutes, reports would be helpful.
Yes.
So we want to
Yep.
leave that in there.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just get that stress
Kind of
back to
hopeful.
them, that that's
Yeah.
an expectation of the committee.
Right, right. The reason. Yep.
That's another thing, that these committees have had no training in freedom of information, any of that. And they really at least have, this piece of correspondence is important.
Oh, it's at the last,
Oh,
the very last
paragraph.
portion?
Yeah, because it applies to committees just like it does to us, and they don't know that. Okay, now, we're not gonna send everybody to that class, but
No, all you have to do is have them read the FAQs on FOA,
sure.
And make sure they sign it.
and they sign it.
Aha.
But either you or one of us, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have kind of a heart to heart with them and understand this is how this works.
Right.
Okay?
Well, I think once we adopt this,
Yep.
it's gonna have to be presented to the committees.
Yep.
This is what you are expected to do.
Right.
Yep. Okay. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
So do we want to let this be reworked, finish those points with Jerry, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
we'll
Tweak.
rubber stamp
email
this
it.
next time?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll table
What
it for
about this
now.
one? You want to overwrite it, make this,
This is the policy.
Yeah, basically,
Right.
we are
We're-
rewriting, we're
overriding.
rewriting
Yeah.
this policy.
okay,
Yeah.
so we want
To the
this
new.
new policy to overwrite this.
Correct.
So is
Yes.
that, well, no, so we're still in draft form, so we don't have. to-
Yeah, we're not there yet. Well, ultimately, this will.
Right, go away.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically, that's what the motion will be when it's time, is to update the
correct.
Right.
2015 policy to the
This,
new verbiage. Okay.
Okay, on to C, which we're gonna table. D, excise exemption ordinance, that has been advanced somewhat, but we're gonna table that for now.
yeah.
ATV route addition, and then request an ATV speed. I guess those are two separate ones. The route was mentioned last meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I received this email. It said they would like to have the East Sangerville Road and Sangerville Line Road added to the list of approved ATV access routes. At the current time, most of the East Sangerville Road is open, just the south end that isn't toward the Line Road.
You're the
That's-
ATV guy.
That's the south end, not, Lance's concern was Dowdy Hill down, as far as,
Do you have a concern there?
Actually, the north end isn't open.
correct.
The north end from Howard's Corner, almost down to the Flanders Hill Road, is closed. Okay. Are you familiar with where I'm talking about, Lois?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
I know the Flanders Hill Road.
Where my parents' house is. You know where my
Okay.
parents' house is?
I haven't seen it
With
yet,
the
but I
yellow
know where it
doors.
is.
Do not miss it.
The one with the
I've
yellow
missed it
doors.
3 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's on the Dowdy Hill Road, right on the corner of the East Sangerville Road.
Okay.
Okay. From there down almost to the Flanders Hill Road. You know where that is?
It's where the big Cleves Farm.
Please,
Yes.
Potato farm.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just maybe a couple hundred feet before that, it starts there and goes up to Lane's Corner, past East Sangerville Church and Grange. Okay, it goes up to that corner and then goes down the gravel roads that go down to the McNaughton Hill Road and the West Road. Okay, then it also goes down by Cleves Farm. You come out and take a sharp left and it goes down the Norton Mills Road. Okay, and then obviously down the Borough Road to the railroad bed.
I'm surprised that that piece was left out.
Which piece?
This piece
What
that we're
we're
talking about
talking
right
about.
now.
Oh,
It wasn't
the
in
rest
the-
of the East Sangerville Road down to the Line Road, or?
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
at the time, it was more to connect over to the McNaughton Hill Road.
Yeah.
And there was nobody from that point. Honestly, every one of these roads, as they've been opened up, the way it's been in the past, and this is a complete change, just so everybody knows, but in the past, people have done petitions. The rule has
Yes.
been,
Yes.
but the only thing is everybody was told you had to do a petition with no requirements on signatures. So you could fill it out yourself, and you could sign it, and you could bring it in and say, that's my petition.
Oh.
Or you could take it out and get 300 signatures. It doesn't make any difference. So I don't really, so this was just being asked of because I really personally don't understand, unless we're gonna say you need at least X amount of signatures, I don't see the point of doing a petition.
Right.
We don't have
That's
any
my personal
requirement
opinion.
notifying residents on a road. We haven't done anything like that.
No, and it's getting pretty close to being to the point of, I mean, there's a lot of towns around here that are at the point of they've opened every road within town.
It
Period.
does seem to be getting that way.
So, and because that's the problem is when you get to, which we are almost at critical mass, you're doing it for some. When you start saying, I'm not gonna do that road, then those taxpayers, that's when you get into, well, you're doing it for everybody else. So then you end up the situation, you either keep going or you shut it off. One or the other.
These, the big roads, 23, do we have the authority to open that road?
No.
Okay.
What ends up happening, and actually this is in process right now, Guilford Club just did this about a month ago. They put a petition to the selectmen and had a big public meeting for the selectmen, because that's who has to do it, to petition the state to open up from the old Pride's Mill. They want to open up 15 from Pride's to the center of town.
Yeesh.
Sounds like carnage to me.
Same here.
It is a wide road, though.
That the other day.
They have it open in Corinth,
Yeah.
some of the 15.
And do the four-wheelers, are they
To the right,
to the right?
to the right.
So they're not, so cars can pass them?
Yeah, one of the stipulations of the state opening up a road is and
Oh, it's a
don't
shoulder.
quote me, I think it's either 4 or 5 feet you have to have on the apron.
I see, I
Yeah.
see.
You have to have 3 feet.
Yeah.
Of paved shoulder.
You have to have, the car.
But I'll tell you, it is, you start riding around the state, I mean, I don't care what town you're in now, whether you're on the outskirts of Portland or down in Bath, or you go all the way to Fort Kent. Everywhere you go on a state highway, if you travel that one road, eventually you will find four-wheeler access.
What about the
They are
signage?
everywhere.
Do we own signs, or we're gonna have to buy signs for this? Or does the
We
ATV
have
club?
some, I will have to check to see how many we have left. I can't give you an
So
affirmative
does the
answer.
town historically pay for these signs? or
Town
does-
pays for them. Club puts them up. The way the law reads, if the town opens it up, the town pays for the signs, the town maintains the signs, the town, Public Works or whatever would put them up and down. Typically, the way it's worked, the club has been the one putting the signs up and down.
So we pull them in every fall?
Yep. And actually what ended up, so far to date, the town paid for the signs, the club got the stakes and everything. And actually, like, I don't even want to throw out a dollar number, but I know Charlie Cleaves, when this first started, Charlie and a group on that side of town, they bought and did a bunch of those roads. And then on our side, Mike Hartford and Sue, they did part of Silver's Mills and French's Mills. They signed all of that. Then they had that special and got it voted in. I can't remember,
I do.
$3,000, $2,500 for signage. We only used like $500 of it is all we did use. So technically we didn't carry it forward, but it was the discussion. We knew it was there, so we're not going to go out and spend money on signs. It'd be a sign here or there type of thing. It's not like you need to go out and spend $2,000 tomorrow, so we didn't even ask the town to carry it forward.
Well-
But they did for several years.
They did, yeah, they did. It was in there. It did get carried forward for a year, I think, or two. We didn't this year because I just didn't think it was,
Yeah, I don't think he did this year, but did the year before.
yeah. But I mean, everybody knows it's there and everybody knows, and it's not a matter of, we don't need to go out and spend all that money, so it wasn't a thought process.
So if we want to approve this route, we need to make a motion? Does anyone make a motion to approve this request for this?
The East Sangerville Road and the Sangerville Line Road.
Right, there needs to be some clarification on what you're saying is all of these sections of the road. And that's from Howard's Corner, which is where my parents live, the whole of the road,
Well, the way I read it.
you know, that's what they're requesting.
Just like they have the whole French's Mills Road now.
The whole Sodas Mills.
Do they get all of Silver's Mills now? Yeah. It seems to be working pretty well. I mean, I know we have a smattering of complaints, but I have, every weekend, I have a fair amount of traffic there, but everybody's
I got a
civil.
standing stream.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my, and honestly, that's my,
Wow.
well, let's get through this and the next piece talks more about the next piece, but.
So is it the ATV club that's requesting this?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
four-wheeler club.
What it is one of our men, honest, the way it ended up happening is we have a member of the club who's disabled, and he lives on the south end down that way, and he can't access
On the line road?
he can't access the railroad bed unless we do this, or he has to trail.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's why it was asked.
Be nice if snowmobiles could ride on these roads like that.
2 inches of snow, buddy, every one of them. Don't even have to ask permission, it's state law.
Yeah, if you plow before I get home, then I'll get back.
Okay, let's move along.
The state stopped plowing last winter, you had your shot, you could've gone anywhere.
So, it is all of the East Sangerville Road that's being requested, and Line Road,
Sangerville, yeah.
Sangerville Line Road.
I would, honestly, I would change it from to the Flanders Hill Road down on the East Sangerville Road for now, or where we already are by the Flanders Hill Road. I'm a little nervous personally about it going up by Dowdy Hill until somebody asks for it.
You are a member of that club. If
That's
you
what I
feel
would
that,
recommend.
I'm no.
Okay, so you wanna,
I personally have not heard anybody from where we start on the East Sangerville Road towards Dowdy Hill ask.
Is the Flanders Hill Road approved?
Yep.
Okay.
The whole thing all the way over to 23?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
How far is that from your parents' house to the Flanders Hill Road?
Oh, it's a,
Mile and the 16th.
is it?
Used to
That's
jog
far.
it all the time.
How
Now
do you
I drive
feel
it.
about that, Lance?
Well, if they get to Howard's Corner, which is where my
Yeah.
parents' place, they don't have any place to go.
Right,
Okay, so
They have to
they
turn
stand
around.
around, they do round and round and
But
round.
that's the way the French's Mills is too. I
Correct.
mean, you get to Bell's Place and you're at 23. What they do is, occasionally, someone illegally travels down to
Oh, yeah.
the Parkman Road and then they can get out again.
I've seen them come down from Sangerville down Flanders Hill Road, 8
Yeah.
or 10 in a row,
Yep.
and all obviously illegally.
When this all started, that was our previous town manager's thought process, was you could go from the railroad bed, cut across, and then come across Flanders Hill by T&L, and then his recommendation was to petition the state to open up 23 from Flanders Hill Road down into the center of town and up over the hill, and then head you towards Parkman,
Hmm.
which I think would be a very,
Very
Well,
dangerous, there's no
I-
shoulder there.
so, there is, it meets the state, he had them measure it, they were,
A paved shoulder coming down
they
by,
said it would work, the state.
really?
Is it McFeeters Road? Is that,
Yep.
so they can cut through from town all the way
Yep.
over to the Parkman on McFeeters? I thought they were. Oh,
Once they get to Parkman, every road in Parkman's open,
Oh, it is, but not, what is that route?
150.
150?
They go through they have
Oh.
access through that field
Oh,
Hmm.
to get from there over to the dump road. And then they
Oh.
go, that's how they're getting to
I
Abbott.
see. Oh, oh, wow, okay.
My experience is when you grant access, they actually behave better. When the
Okay.
French's Mills Road was
Okay.
closed,
Yeah,
they were all trying to beat the law.
oh, okay.
And they drove,
Like,
and you don't want to reward bad behavior, but ultimately passing it made it better.
because they weren't trying
Now
to,
very rarely does anyone drive like a maniac.
okay, so that's
In
interesting.
fact, I have cars that do beat
Okay.
more
They
reckless.
do.
Oh, they do.
All right, well,
They always wait.
so
Yeah, they're like boaters on a lake.
they don't do the motorcycle one?
That's another, it's kind of the same thing, it really is. But, and I think it's the other way, it's almost they're saying, I mean, not saying thank you, but
Yeah,
a lot of these guys, they really appreciate being able
Okay.
to get to the trail.
so you're gonna,
I make a motion that we continue, actually, it's already open to the Minot Hill, so we need to continue on East Sangerville past Minot Hill, out through and onto the line road.
I'll second.
continue on East Sangerville past Minot Hill.
Yeah.
mhm.
'Cause right now, that's where it actually stops, is there.
So the Lime Road did not have access, oh, so this is all new.
Yeah, this stretch of the East Sangerville and then to the line road, and that will grant him access.
It's a shame, excuse me, that that gentleman that's disabled, that short stretch of the starboard siding road down to the tracks,
Yeah, no,
which is in Dover,
Yeah,
would be ever so much more convenient.
correct. I understand.
Yeah, it's only
And we,
3/4 of a mile down there to the
Ah,
tracks or
for
something.
him.
Oh, very,
oh,
very close. Well, you know where Norm Hill lives.
yeah,
Yeah, just down
right
to.
there.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
yeah,
just a short
it's
ways
way
down.
easier.
I don't know that Dover, I don't know that they have any.
I don't think
Dover's
they
got a
do.
club going and they're doing really good with it, but
They
they
are?
have not, they've got one piece of road open right
Yeah,
now.
okay.
And that's their experiment, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, that's what we did too with Dexter. because Dexter had no roads open. But the funny thing is when they originally petitioned Silver's Mills to go across French's Mills, that was the first roads. Well, the length from the railroad bed to Silver's Mills in Sangerville was like 50 feet over the law. So if we opened it up, but the bad part was, if any warden wanted to sit there, he could write tickets all day long.
Until Dexter opened it up.
And we just got Dexter last year to say yes, and they opened up that piece.
May I ask a question? Something just popped into my head. It's talking about opening the line road. You're talking about opening the gravel portion of the line road? Because which part of it's in Dover and which part's in Sangerville?
That's a good question.
Okay, very
There's
interesting.
a map right there.
Well, no,
That's the line for.
Oh, it's a line road, it's the
It's a
middle, it's
line
right
road
down
for
the.
a reason.
That's right, you're
Actually, we
right.
might have to get.
That's right, that's a good
so
point.
if you're headed
Yeah,
south, you're in
yeah.
Sangerville.
Yeah.
But if you're headed north, you're in Dover. Okay, because on the Kenny corner, which is where Joe Cartwright lives,
Mm-hmm.
you look right to the left of it right there, and the granite post, and you look right down the middle of the
It's
road.
down the middle of the road.
So are you opening up a road that's,
Who maintains it?
well, we have an agreement with Dover, we maintain some and they maintain. So who does it belong to? That's the question.
So it belongs to both of us, doesn't it?
If it goes down the middle, it must.
I don't know. But it just popped into my head.
Okay.
All right, so how about you make that motion if we can? We'll have to confirm that, I guess.
MMA should tell you.
Yeah.
If
I
you
don't
have
want
the
to,
authority
same
on a
deal,
shared
I don't
road.
want to put us in any type of.
Okay, because the road is owned
Shared,
by, shared
shared.
by two towns.
It's the line.
It's a line,
Yep.
it's on the
It's
line.
named
We own to
appropriately.
the center, and like you said, you could go south, but you can't go north. Oh, you can drive to the other side.
Backwards.
No, the law clearly states you have to stay to the right, so you couldn't go on.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
good.
can go, but you can't come back.
Yes.
But there
That's
could
not
be
a-
a requirement. We might have to notify Dover, we might have to get their permission.
Right,
Well,
right.
we may have to.
So
do something.
pending, maybe
Yeah.
we want to wait.
So you want
For
to
the
withdraw
research.
your,
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
Sorry
up to you.
about that.
That's a
No,
good.
No,
I-
that's a very good point.
That's a good
Because then
idea.
we just might get shot down.
Let's just get clarification.
Yeah, yeah.
One more
Okay.
project.
You never get to finish anything.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you want to forget about the speed for tonight?
yeah, I
Yes.
was able
Yeah,
to speak.
stable
Yes.
that, so we're not gonna have time to get down to where we need to get to.
Well, do you,
If we can come back to speed, we will, but generally, right now, time
all right,
constraints. we're gonna take-
let's go to the tax discount MMA ruling. Essentially, from what you sent me, it's against the law not to accommodate these people that pay on time
Yeah.
through
Escrow.
an escrow. So we
Correct.
need to come up with a system to address that.
Right, I'm gonna have to call MMA and see if we can put a policy into place, because for ease in the office, it would be easier if we could apply it to next year. Versus calling, I believe it says the mortgage holder.
I don't believe that's
That'd be-
appropriate at all.
The next question I would have
That's
is,
not appropriate.
how far back do we go?
Calling, I just don't think you should have to do
Well,
that.
somebody's gonna ask.
Well, that's, I mean, just put it,
It's
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
do we wanna just do the policy?
I think, Mike, excuse me again, I think there's a policy, you know how many years you can go back. If you ask for, like a tax abatement, you can only go back so many years.
3 years, is it 3
Okay,
years?
So,
This is a little different though. I believe that MMA has told us that it is illegal. to
Why don't we
do
ask
what we're
MMA
This
that
is
question,
different.
what
Right,
we
we
should
need-
do
What exactly, what they would recommend that we adopt.
in this situation?
So we have to
But
find
The
out.
I
last
agree
thing we
100%.
want is a class action
Correct.
suit for 30 citizens or something.
Correct.
There's not enough money at stake, because it's typically $20 or $30.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
But I also don't want us to spend an incredible amount of hours researching something from 8 years ago,
Right.
if we can avoid it.
Yeah, I would like to see a policy that says that money is, that excess money is just stays on that person's account and will come off for next year.
Right.
I would think if a person, it shouldn't be up to us, because the person knows. Like, I mean, when my escrow, when mine comes in, I know when that went to the town. I know what my tax bill was. I know what I paid it. So it should be me as a citizen's responsibility that if I don't want that applied towards next year's taxes, then I should have to actually verbally ask for that. Well, that's what I would think. I mean,
Think
because
we need
you
to know
knowingly
what-
paid X amount of money towards your tax bill.
We need to know what latitude we have.
Yeah. But I don't think, I know when I dealt with this whole thing, trying to get mine reimbursed years ago, and I called the mortgage company to try to get them involved to help get my escrow back, they said they don't want it back. We paid it, it's more work, more money for them.
It's $20, they don't want.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with that. If I wanted to get it back, then that was great, I could do that, but it weren't coming back to them to put back into my account to mess all the figures up for the following year.
So, and we vote on that every year, is that correct? At town meeting?
2%.
Yes.
Okay. So,
And that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
I think when we get to budgetary, we should have a serious conversation
Right.
about the
Okay.
merits of that.
Yep.
But-
What the actual cost is.
right,
Yeah, well,
Right.
it's kind of a shell game.
right, exactly.
So what we're gonna do with this item now is we're gonna wait for clarification on MMA in terms of how
How
far
we
back.
refund.
Yeah, and
I
are
didn't
we,
say we had to refund now.
Do we have, but I would go by their recommendation, because once you come up with this policy, and I want to correct it going forward, but I also want to have the same answer at the same time that somebody comes in and says, you've been taking that money from me for the last 5 years.
correct.
I would just as soon have
Yeah.
MMA's ruling that says, I only have to pay you, reimburse
2
you
years.
for 2, or
Okay.
$10, or 5, or 10, or just to keep it that much easier when it all comes to be.
All right, so we're gonna table for more info. We're gonna table the tractor tax. CEO travel reimbursement?
Yeah, he came in the other day and I have a complaint anyway. He said he doesn't get paid a whole lot and he does a lot of driving around and he'd like to have some reimbursement for mileage.
So you had a complaint from George Tozier?
Well, no.
Oh.
I had a complaint, and when I had him, he happened to stop by the office, and I said, "Oh, come right in here." And so then we had a discussion, and he said he feels that he doesn't. Number one, he doesn't get paid enough stipend. Number two, he doesn't get mileage. Blah blah.
How do we compensate him?
He
It's
is.
yearly.
It's a yearly. Yeah, he gets I think $3,000 a year.
So it's not by inspection, he doesn't get a piece of the
No.
inspection?
No.
No.
And he's only here during the
So-
summer.
He's
Right.
only here during the summer, but if he gets calls and has to go out and view, and then has to go back and go back and go back, and
I would think this is,
He's both the LPI and the CEO.
correct.
Now, there was a time that the LPI was compensated by fees that we
They get
charge.
75% of the.
Does he get those?
Yes.
Okay, plus he gets his 3,000.
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, in other words, was this just for your consideration, or if I don't get this, I'm probably gonna quit?
Consideration. The issue is there's a junky house next to a neighbor, and the neighbor's complaining and wants something done about the junky house, and he just.
We have our nuisance ordinance, and we have a couple of houses that fell under that last year.
Yes. And that's
So
what we're
would this
working on.
be one that was already part of last year's problem and was corrected to the way he wanted it, our CEO wanted, but at the time we knew wasn't gonna work?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Well,
We can table it.
I said we can ponder it,
Yeah.
okay? Generator hookup.
Can I back up
Yeah.
1 second? Does this $3,000 stipend that we do pay, does that dollar value come from what we just tell him we're gonna pay him? Or is that typically what he tells us we are gonna pay him?
I think it's a stipend that you pay him.
It's in the budget.
Yeah.
I understand that, but where did that dollar value come from? I mean, it had to be an agreed upon number.
You have some insight?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yeah, we vote on it every year.
I
Yeah.
understand.
That's set.
But he's also getting the
But-
fee from
Yes.
the
I
plant.
understand
License
that,
bond.
but I'm just thinking in my head, if I didn't feel that my $3,000 stipend was enough to cover my mileage, the time to talk about that is before my annual renewal.
Well, yeah, or
Not
when
after.
gas was $4 a gallon instead
Okay,
of
that
2.
was, I just was
And
making
he's
sure.
not here.
Right,
during
so
the budget.
that's, I'm,
Oh, right, he's never
Okay,
here.
I just making
That's
sure
right.
I was thinking,
I think you're thinking of it the way I'm
Okay.
thinking of it. Are we good?
yep,
Yep.
I'm good.
Generator hookup?
We have a generator, is it over here?
Mm-hmm.
In the fire department.
Yeah.
And in light of the thunderstorms that we've been getting, if we go down, we cannot have the office open because we don't have power.
Correct.
So, and I've been told that the generator was purchased large enough to run both facilities.
That's correct.
We're on half.
That's
And
correct.
we just need somebody to
Yeah.
hook it from
Okay.
there to here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
We can
that might
table
be
it.
more expensive than you think, but,
Yeah.
because that has to be done with a place. But
Little-
let's get a
little
quote
more.
on it.
Yeah, we can get a quote,
Yeah.
or,
All right.
just to enlighten, we had to have a special because we had to have a generator, and the generators just got hooked up.
It will be several $100s, at least.
Oh,
Well, it'd be
sure.
way more than that, because you gotta go underground.
Yeah, you gotta go underground. You wanna get a quote on it?
Okay. We'll do that.
But
Now,
we've been here for
supposedly-
200 years without a generator.
Supposedly, when you're looking for your quote, when that generator was purchased, it was supposed to be purchased with the connecting panel for this building.
Really?
Because that generator came with a connecting panel, and that building already had one. So the connecting panel for that generator was supposed to be for this building. So that panel needed to be installed here, and then the wiring coming over.
So this was already talked about.
Oh, yes, this was, actually, I think your husband was, helped pick out the generator.
Okay, all right, well, there you go.
So the panel should already be there
Okay.
to help
Or
with some of
if
the
it
costs.
isn't, where is it?
That would be
And that
correct.
was probably paid for and didn't get installed.
But the only thing about this building was the same conversation with that building. This building's power comes off from the main line right out of Guilford. It ain't going down for very long, if it does. Because you're feeding
Right.
2 major manufacturing areas and the
And-
third one over here. So you're in this zone.
Okay.
If you lose power for more than a day, it's bad enough. You probably
No, we'll be getting.
You
rid
probably
of it.
want to go home.
Usually found in a couple hours, I can't remember.
No.
Shut up.
Now you come to Silver's Mills Road, now we can have a different conversation.
Okay. Jay, you wanna close early on the 3rd?
I don't care either way. The girls asked in the office. I'm not a camper.
You guys closing early?
I don't care.
We're not working.
You're not
Oh,
working on Mondays?
geez.
No.
Are you
Yeah, we're-
working the 4th?
No, we're taking the
have
They're
third.
getting both days.
Yeah, we're getting them both on.
What are they going
Friday's
camping?
looking
They're
good
going
too,
camping?
actually.
Oh,
The only thing that, honestly, the only thing that concerns me is the poor guy who shows up to register his boat on Monday. He wants to go out and he can't do
Oh,
that.
well, you know what? I can let them go home and I can stay. 'Cause
Well,
I
you know
don't
what?
care.
I think we'll leave this up to you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
this is,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
this
yeah.
is 100% managerial
Do
conversation.
that. Yeah, they can go home and I
Managerial
can stay.
conversation.
and that's a lot of.
If it looks good in the
goodwill.
afternoon
A lot of-
and nothing's going on, then
And
great.
it's your decision.
Yeah.
Personal days.
We can table this, but just,
Okay.
we don't have, in the personnel policy, you have sick time and holiday time, vacation time, but you don't have personal time. I mean, usually you get 1 or 2, you get a birthday or something. So
Well,
just
if
for your
you have
consideration.
Do you wanna work on a proposal that we could talk about that? Maybe,
I get one personal, no sick.
No sick.
Really?
No sick.
I don't get anything.
Me
I get,
neither.
well, I get 4 weeks for vacation.
It is.
Except I never- It's over 20 years, you get 4 weeks.
So, item L, insurance plans. Add 2 plans.
This is, again, we'll have to have a longer discussion, but in brief, Matt called, and the plan that the town offers is like one of the most expensive plans
Yep.
out there.
Cadillac plan, I've been
POSC.
told.
Yes. Well, he can't afford or doesn't want to pay the price for the POSC, and so he wants to have a couple of different options. And if we do that, then you can open that to your other employees and say, we'll allow this amount of money for insurance, you can choose whatever plan you choose. So that's a discussion.
Oh, I see what you're saying, by
This is a
add 2
discussion
plans.
that we definitely want to have.
Yes.
Right.
I want to have this, but I want to take it to a different level. What I would like this, my opinion, personally, I would like it to take us to a point of our employees have earned an X amount of money of a benefit dollar. Then we offer, say, 2 or 3 plans. So, meaning your benefit dollar would about cover your inexpensive plan.
Exactly,
Right.
And then if you
exactly.
want the most expensive plan,
Then
that is
you're
great.
paying for
But
it.
you have that same benefit dollar.
That's right.
and you apply that to the good
Right, the
plan.
town will give you $800 a month to your insurance, which plan do you want?
Correct.
Right, right.
And so if you want the cheap plan and you want to add your family, then it's still going to do the 800, which might cover a little bit of your family.
Correct. But if you want to have the buku dollar one, the town's still gonna, the Cadillac plan, the town would still pay the 8, and you're
And
gonna pay
you're
the
paying-
2,000.
But
or
the
whatever.
reality is, there's no place to go but down. In other words, their participation
Yeah,
is going to have to
unfortunately,
increase
yeah.
because they're getting the Cadillac plan for
Right.
20% in,
Right.
which I have no problem with having that discussion because nobody else gets
No,
that for the most
no.
part. So I think it's,
Keep in mind, your insurance premiums will go up yearly.
well, yeah.
So if you set a value versus a percentage,
Well, same deal. You can set your,
You could even do 100% of Plan C, 80, 50,
And
or however
honestly-
it works out, because then you would change with the number.
that's what,
Or 90% of Plan C, 50, so on and so forth. So as the prices go up, it automatically adjusts.
the way ours used to work, or it was coincidental, I wasn't involved setting the numbers, but the way ours appeared to work for years was employee plus spouse at the least inexpensive plan was what your benefit dollar was.
Oh,
If you
okay.
went employee plus family, it would cost you a little bit of money. If you were single, it was great because you actually got paid to take insurance. But as you went up, you still had that same dollar value, so whatever higher level you wanted to go to, but it always maintained you could always get the minimum for you and your spouse. Doing it
So
that way.
you don't have numbers for us yet, or do you?
well, what, I don't.
Of the
what do you have for
plans.
numbers? Well, I know what the number is right now, the POSC is like $1,023.
That's the Cadillac plan. And do we know it's tier 2 and tier 3?
I don't have them.
And that's not a priority number for
That's-
right now.
Right, I mean,
No.
the
It's
number,
something that we want to.
I just would be curious to see how significant the difference is.
probably $100 difference between the POSC and the POS 200. The 200 is cheaper, and then the PPO 550 is probably, would be the cheapest of the three.
And I'm guessing deductibles go up.
Yeah,
That's what's happening.
yeah.
Is that all they offer is 3 plans?
Oh, no, I think they have 5 or 6.
How hard is it to get that, to say these are the top plans, like a summary of plans and costs?
MMEHT
Okay.
on website, and it's,
It's all there, black and white, even cost?
I think so.
I think, yeah, I would look at that, and along with that, I'd like to have the deductible information. Your Plan 5 is 15,000 deductible, so on and so forth.
Well, that's what I mean, that's what I was looking for in the summary, is this is your plan, this is your deductible, this is your out of network, out of pocket, your co-pays for your whatever. Because I know all in ours, whatever level you go to, every bit of that changes all the way
Now,
through.
can the board, if we do all this research and we come up with 3 or 4 alternatives, can the board do this? Do we have the authority to change that benefit package?
Well, it's in your personnel policy. It's a policy, yes, you do.
Okay. Let's
Our
start the
policy
research.
doesn't say that you have to provide X amount of type of insurance coverage.
Yep, okay.
You do have one exception, which is Alvina. She is covered at 100% in that personnel policy. And I think just because she's been here.
No wonder the numbers never come out right.
No, that's right. That's where
They were always off.
because you said that we're doing 85%. That's where it's
But
coming
it's-
from.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
that's-
Boy, I'm surprised you can isolate one employee.
I know, I'm
Never
surprised too, that doesn't
Did
seem.
we do that off from years of service or something?
It doesn't specify, it just says current town clerk.
When was that
Will be
written?
covered at 14 or 15.
Don't you have to offer everybody the same benefit package?
I think that's worth researching.
Oh,
I think they-
yeah.
I think they would do that kind of like in lieu of salary. I don't,
Everybody
yeah.
gets offered the same thing, or they get a shopping list to choose from.
Correct.
I'll be surprised.
I think that's a
if
very bad-
legit.
I think it's very bad.
No idea where that would come from.
I would say that happened instead of a raise.
Or,
And then we got them.
okay. So we're gonna do a little more research on that and
Yep.
dig deep. And, see.
But I would like to make sure that all of our employees are all on the same page and treated the same.
Nobody has a contract. I mean, there's no, just you. Yeah.
But that's within your personnel policy.
But you don't have insurance.
You have written on mine projected mill rate.
Yep, I had some on everybody's.
Okay.
So you should have copies of the projected mill rate. And there are a few problems. I used to try. So adding up your numbers, they don't come out to what you have in your town warrant, to what I have in Trio, and these numbers, they don't match. So according to what's been approved at town meeting, it's $1,066,187.
So wait, what line, oh, sorry, we're looking at 15?
No.
What line would that be?
It is line 8, but this
Okay.
is a different number.
Okay.
Or is it maximum allowable taxable?
Well, I had,
Municipal appropriation.
yeah, this is $1,069,187.
Okay.
That number does not include the mistakes on your warrant. $5,000 was not on your warrant for registry of deeds. $1,900 was not on your warrant for your income protection plan that you're offering. And what else?
Income protection plan.
It was under health.
Yep.
It's under health.
insurance.
It's under health insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Was it supposed to be?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would remember
Yeah.
that was
That
an
was-
emergency
it was
thing. We had to
approved.
rush
like
back
just
in.
before.
But
yeah.
it was,
It is in your personnel policy, but it had never been implemented, apparently.
well, it was, and the way we was explained, it was something that the employees always had, and then somehow it had fallen off and didn't get renewed, and nobody noticed it, and all of a sudden it come back on. So,
Anyway,
That was the
it's,
excuse.
it's not on, it wasn't in your town warrant for
Okay.
approval, those two numbers.
okay, but as far as line items, though, wasn't that part of I thought that was mixed in with health insurance.
I thought we did put that in health insurance.
You did, but he never added it and put it on the warrant.
Oh,
Oh.
he didn't update his number.
Correct.
All right.
He didn't have the numbers in the right lines when he put them on the warrant.
So it was a clerical error.
It was, yes.
Or this is the 80-20 where we didn't know the
Yeah.
numbers was there. We
I
talked
made
about.
him cut money from the health insurance line because he had like enough money for 6 people and we only had 5 full-time
Yeah.
employees. And he said, yeah, I can cut this, and he did. And the budget committee said, good, we vote to use that number.
But also though, them at that time, every number that was being used, we were doing 80-20.
Yeah,
That's a big difference when you take.
yeah, so I wasn't accounting for that. I
No.
said, oh, this will be
None of
enough
us knew
money
that.
with the 80-20, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
accounting
1 at
for-
100 will skew you a lot.
Bad.
Whoa,
Yeah.
you're
That's
not
bad.
And you pay all of her dental and 50% of her spouse's dental.
Whoa.
I think we
They
need to
got
have a
very
special
dental, but it-
Yeah, I do think we maybe, or even an executive session.
very soon.
So anyway, that leaves us $6,900 short in our budget. I mean, we can work with it and just hope that we can save in other line items.
We need to have an in-depth conversation and maybe be able to do something different.
And then the other part of this conversation is, and I went historically to last year's, the amount that you budget for quote overlay and abatements and discounts there's no number in the warrant. It just says that you can
Right,
do
he knows what
that.
you're talking about.
And well, and then when he put it in Trio, he kind of like double budgeted because he put in 10,000 for overlay and 10,000 for abatements. Abatements and overlay are kind of the same thing. And then 20,000 or 21,000 for your discounts. Now we got to address the discounts because we now know that we have to give more discounts anyway. And we had spent all but $800 of the discount anyway. So we can keep the 41. You have a warrant article that says you can spend the money and allow the discounts. And I can add that historically. That's what has been done. They've just added it to your municipal appropriations here for commitment. And that's what this number is reflecting, the 41,000 and the 10,000 incidental is included in this number. You know, the 10,000 that you're allowed to is in this number as well.
Line 8.
So the first one is assuming your school budget is around 810,000. That's a pretty high increase. The second one is the 800,000, which Matt projected. I'm not sure.
If the one that would just didn't pass, had passed, would this number have worked?
No,
No,
Probably
it was more than
not.
810?
it was like 13 something.
Well, no, yes and no, because,
It was 13%, which I think we figured on what, 5?
well, but the problem is this, the town is calendar, schools are fiscal. So you have to take 6 months from last year and then
Yeah.
6 months from this year, and that's how you arrive at your school
Correct.
budget.
Oh.
And so I did a 5%, and I don't know if I don't have that paper with me.
So,
School budget.
On a quick note,
What's
not to
that,
defend the budget of the school, but the budget is actually isn't that as bad as it sounds. But that district got hammered, or we got hammered on state share. That's the difference.
When you're in.
We're down to what, 66% or something like that, crazy. Was it less?
Yeah, but if your income decreases, guess what?
No, I know.
You gotta cut your expenses, you can't.
I
say-
understand, but I'm just saying that
I know,
when you throw that number out there, it sounds like, oh my God, the school's spending all kinds of money. Well, it's not really the case.
So basically, I mean, you see, if we do the 810,000, you can maintain a 19 mil, and you actually have 27,000 in overlay. And if you go down to the lowest budget, the 766, and that was with a 5% increase, you're an 18.5 mil. So you're right in the area.
all of them are an improvement from what we did last year. I don't think, we were over 19 last year.
Do 19 even.
That's you had for,
Yep. And once you're at 19, you kind of want to, I mean, once you're at a mill, you don't want to jump high or low. I mean, can you go to 18.5? Yeah, you could. But you want to keep it kind of level, because what you don't spend from this overlay goes into your surplus, and that's what you can then have to fall back on when you need it. That's how you build savings.
so,
So the question is, do you want the 41,000 that he double budgeted the abatements, and you're gonna need more in your, I mean, it's not a bad number, you could probably go 5,000 less, but I wouldn't wanna, the first time out, not knowing what your discounts are going to be. And then the second question is, the 6,900 that wasn't on a warrant article, do you wanna try and work with the budget? Or do you,
the only option would be a special?
that's right.
That's what I thought.
I think we need to have further conversation of other ideas.
Okay.
Is the 6,900, that's health insurance? That's insurance?
No, 5,000 is the registry of deeds, so every time we record a lien or a discharge at the registry of deeds, it costs us $19.
He didn't put any of it in?
Nope. He had it in a different line, in the wrong section,
Okay.
and he never put it in the right section to add it to the...
Professional.
That's right. And that 5,000, is that a number that's historical?
5,000 is it's pretty good. As long as we don't have any huge mistakes and errors, we're...
Oh, I see. So that's,
Well, and just don't forget, we're on a line item budget, so it's whatever's in that area. If you've got anything,
Well, I know.
okay.
I know at
I
the bottom
just-
line budget,
Yep, I know.
you don't have, you just can't go over that, and
But
I'm cool with that.
in a broader sense, if we went at 19 and we were able to do 19 next year and the year after, that would be a vast improvement over
That's
what we've
right.
done the last 3 years.
that's right.
So it'd be
So,
even better if you go into 18.5.
Yeah,
Next
well,
year, if
maybe-
you go to 18 and
yeah,
then
it'd be beautiful,
17.5.
but we got work to do.
Let me see. So
We can go right to 12 if you can figure out how to do it.
So far,
Kind of upstairs.
on the general government, where these two mistakes were made, and where this is practically the last day of June, we've spent 45% of that budget. So can we come up with 6,900 out of the 302? Most likely.
We don't look too bad.
We're not in too bad a shape.
Not too bad. We'll just be a little more conservative.
Right, going forward.
We're not paying mileage, that's all.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Old business, I think you want to table, Abby, for now?
No, I just, kind of another little
Yep.
chink in the special. You have to accept this, you have to have a town meeting vote to accept the building back from the Historical Society. Now you can table it.
Okay, so
So that'll go along with,
Yeah.
we did do a special when we transferred it,
We
Brady?
did.
Okay, that answers that question.
I called Brian Howard, I left him a message, he can call me back. If I get any follow-up, I'll share it with everybody, so. Okay, Gray Road.
So that has to be done.
Yeah.
At one point or another.
Yeah.
Well, and
We can't sell it.
unfortunately, I've already recorded the deed at the registry,
Whoops.
but we can't sell it. Well, and you have to have a vote to sell it
Yeah.
too, so I mean, you can have both of
So we
those
could do all of
votes at
that
the
and
same-
possibly even if we have to do something with the rec, it's all one shot. Give us
That's
all
right.
back.
But
Right.
we know that we're going, I think, once we get our committees thing set up, maybe we set up an Abbey Fowler committee quickly.
Way good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and start getting a feeling for
Right.
what we might be able to do or not do.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
they could
Yeah.
advise.
Off your plate.
Gray Road. We actually did get some correspondence today, midday, from Eaton Peabody, believe it or not. I'll give you, Lance, a copy of this, and I have an extra one. Friday, there you go. And Terry's got an extra two.
Yeah, I'll take one. Got it.
I have one too. I mean, don't want to keep one.
That's the most recent correspondence.
Very exciting reading.
This is what we have left in our legal, this is what
So what does
we
it
owe
say?
Eaton and Peabody.
Just read the third paragraph.
I always just,
Third paragraph down, is what all really,
So-
I think it's
Well-
about without looking at it.
While you guys are perusing, we budgeted $9,500.
No, we budgeted 10,000.
We budgeted 10, and we have 5,300 left for legal?
If we pay this bill, yes.
Um,
Or when we pay this bill.
Have you guys both had a chance to review that document?
yes,
This email.
yes,
Okay.
More clear as mud.
yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah, go ahead.
No.
No, you go ahead.
I-
I trust your interpretation way better than mine.
I started right back at the beginning of all this, and I think,
So I brought all of it because that's where I started today.
yeah, I mean, he goes back to 1891.
Right.
And he spends a lot of time in this document basically reiterating what the road isn't. Okay? It's like 3-4 paragraphs in a row. And so I asked myself, why is he doing this? Why? Because nobody seems to be having this argument. And then it occurred to me, that's not true. What I think he's responding to is the letter that was sent to him by the previous chair. She alleges that we spent public funds in a private way. So he's hammering the point that this is not a private way. And he does it
Repeatedly.
repeatedly.
Over and over.
And once that light bulb went off for me, I said, okay, now I understand why, because and he did it in the previous letter. I said, why are we, nobody's debating this. Well, that's not true. He's responding to a letter that he got. And that's a pretty serious accusation. If we did that, that would be an illegal act. And so he's saying we didn't do that.
Right.
Attorney Shea isn't alleging that we did that either. So the only reason I think this is just speculation on my part. That's why that's in here. And he keeps going back at that.
My only thing though is, with all of these responses we've gotten from him in writing, they always seem to be making you want to ask another question. And none of these yet match the verbal conversation that I had with him on the phone.
Well, the verbal conversation that I had with him on the phone was more towards what latitude the board had with a public easement. That's what he and I, actually it was Paul. He said essentially that the board had the authority to spend money on a public easement. In fact, he even advised me to do that, as
Correct.
opposed to opening up a possible can of worms in the form of litigation.
Correct.
Then we got a ruling from MMA that said you couldn't do that. What he does in this letter, and he did in the previous letter, is he's trying to provide us with a way around that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read in this, he's saying,
But my thing is, when I was on the phone with him, he clearly said, do not take this to the litigation. Do not take this to the town.
yeah, he says that.
It is the best interest to take this. If you read this, it's an easement. He's saying you have to take it to the town and spend funds.
No, he isn't.
No.
No, he isn't. He's giving us a little window to wiggle through, and he's saying,
I read it twice, and I still
On the
got
second
that.
page, may I?
Yeah.
Because it is my view, there is not enough competent evidence to support.
Hang on.
Wait, where are you?
On the second
Second
page.
page, second
Down,
page.
Last paragraph,
Yeah,
Last paragraph?
no,
next to.
Next
Oh, okay.
it says starts with thus.
Okay, hold on.
thus.
Thus,
You see it, Jody?
3.
I'm looking.
Their version's different than mine. It's
Oh,
the
oh.
second page, second paragraph.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna
okay.
say, we
There-
got a different-
Like, I know, I was
Wait,
Right, because he printed off, I forwarded it to them, and so you
Yeah.
have his
Oh.
forward.
Oh,
Yeah, which
So
is
we got a
different.
heading on it, you don't. It's the same email, don't worry, Lance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see, yes.
It's just printed out differently.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you read that paragraph right
Okay.
there.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it is my view that not enough competent evidence to support discontinuance of the portion of the Gray Road in 1891, and there is not enough competent evidence to support abandonment under the common law. I do not view the portion of the Gray Road at issue to be purely private. So he's saying it's not a private way.
Correct.
That's the fourth time he said it.
Yeah,
Okay, it's
Okay.
not if it's not a private way, then it's a public way.
No,
No,
it could be a public easement.
not in 1891.
No, that's what he's saying, okay? He's excluding any possibility that this is a private way. It's not, okay? And he reiterates this 4 times.
Right.
And the reason he's doing it is because there was an accusation that it was a private way. It's actually referred to in the letter as your driveway that we're working on.
That's right.
false.
What letter are you referring to?
The one that Melissa,
From
our
Melissa.
previous
town-
chair wrote.
Thank you. I knew what letter it was.
Okay.
You just wanted me to say it.
That's right. I wanted the board to realize that the previous select board member inappropriately violated town policy.
Yeah, we know that. I mean,
We know
you're
that now,
absolutely right.
yes.
But we didn't know the letter was being written.
We didn't know the
No.
letter was written.
So now
I
we're dealing
realize
with it.
that.
But I do believe that that's part of what's driving him to be so specific about, because that's the most significant allegation in this letter, okay? Is that, and supposedly all this work happens secretly. It was done while she was out of town. I mean, this is quite a conspiracy that is alleged in this letter. So that's why we're all reading this and like, why is he going?
Right.
That's why he's doing this, I believe.
Okay.
We haven't asked him anything. But he does try to give us a narrow little window to fix this. But he doesn't change the status of the road, it looks to me. He's saying it's
Where are you seeing that he's saying that you can spend that money?
he says go to his June 20th letter.
Okay.
He says, in short, this statute has 2 basic requirements.
Wait a minute, where are
Okay.
you?
Page 4 at the bottom.
That's
Lance, it's our page 4.
You've got it. You're part of that chain. You've got the whole
Yours is probably
chain.
at
Oh, in
5.
short, okay, got it.
I'm glad.
You're probably on page 5, because ours is on the bottom.
It's from Pottle to Lois
On June 20th.
on June 20th.
In short,
In short, this status has 2 basic requirements. Town meeting approval to expend funds, town resources in this nature, and the Board of Selectmen to consider it advisable and in the best interest of the town to expend funds, resources in a public easement for fire and police protection, assuming the town meeting warrant for a particular fiscal year fairly contemplates expenditures and funds of town's resources of this manner. All the Board of Selectmen need to do is find it advisable and in the best interest of the town to do certain work in a public easement for fire and police protection.
when you read up at the top, it says there are 2 basic requirements. Okay, after number 1, it says and. It does not say or.
Where?
So that it still has to go in front of the town.
No, but they've already approved the funds for road maintenance. That's what he's trying to provide you with. Now, MMA, I don't think would like it.
No, I don't like it.
No, and I don't think the
I don't-
townspeople would like it.
No, I would not.
Because if you're gonna use that fine rationale,
No,
how many people can come to you and say, listen, if my house is
Sure.
on fire, they'll never get to me?
correct. You'll be doing every camp road in
But
town?
that is not what he said to me on the phone.
Correct. It's not what he said to me either.
So he's added that, he's trying to have it both ways,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think this, you can stretch this to make this fit, but I do not believe this fits what we're doing.
Doesn't fit for me.
It doesn't fit for me
It
either.
doesn't fit for me.
I'm sure it doesn't, because.
No, you listen to me.
I know why,
You know damn well why.
yeah.
Because what you're doing in that, it doesn't say that you're gonna maintain it, you're gonna build it.
It
Correct.
says it's still an easement.
Correct?
Yes.
It's not a town way.
And you're not gonna have to maintain it. That's
I
not what
agree
I'm
with you.
looking
No,
for.
I know what you're looking for. But we don't always get what we want.
Well, we'll see.
No, I understand. But I can also understand, it's funny, I was digging, why does Attorney Shea think that he's gonna, well, if you look at our minutes, we specifically had a ruling. Yeah, I got my notes.
Shay? All right, I need to move this paperwork around.
What are we looking for?
It's in this stack.
There's a,
It's in this stack.
You confused yet, Jody?
Hang on, because if he's going for Shay, I got it right here.
A little shea letter, I didn't bring the shea letter.
I think I have a copy.
This letter.
Okay.
well, it's just, there are several motions last year where the board states that the Gray Road
You wanna
is
go
a
up?
town way, the entire road.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay? That's unambiguous. And they have a motion and they pass it.
Correct.
So the one
Maple
question
law.
that has never been asked of Paul is what's the ramifications of those actions? That's what Shay's looking at. He's got all those minutes. And now he says their reversal of the previous.
The
board was
rescind, yeah. that
saying
was
that's
what-
improper.
Right.
But they voted to make the entire road a town way. The minutes even stipulate that we have to address the rest of the road. They know that.
Correct.
But is it town meeting or selectmen's minutes?
It's select-
Everything has been done in select.
I talked to
Not
Ken
never.
Woodbury today.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did. I asked him if he had any recollection of this. He did, very clearly. He said they got it, the board last year got advice from Eaton Peabody. He believes it was in a phone call. He said the motion that he suggested that was the catalyst for the board rescinding was largely predicated on that advice. And if we look at those minutes,
Oh my God.
all of that was done pretty much based on what they were advised.
And when I was on the phone with Eaton and Peabody, I asked Thad about that conversation because I was there, and it was an executive session, and Thad could not remember the conversation and didn't believe that we had that conversation.
Really?
So I told Thad, because I am very bad at dates, which if you haven't figured that out, you will. So I told Thad that I wasn't sure when it was, but I would gladly go in the office because I'm quite certain there was a bill to go along with that phone call.
Ha ha ha
And there
ha.
was a long pause, and it was, oh yes, yes, there was, but
Oh,
we
no.
didn't take any minutes or any
Bad
notes
form.
from that meeting.
Bad form.
So
That's all.
that's what I was told.
Well, where are Ken's notes? Whoops, sorry.
It was executive session, so there wasn't.
Except there's there's no
We're all
record.
doing it.
Right, no record at all.
Correct. It's all
It's like the game of
our
Clue.
word.
The minutes, I've listened to the minutes and I have the written minutes. They all support that process was thorough and was, they did seek advice. In spite of the letter that the previous chair wrote, everything was out in the open. But the upshot is, what is the upshot? Where do we stand? What can we do? And what do we want to do? I mean, we can look for some guidance on this, the ruling of the previous board. If no one's really looked at that status, and MMA hasn't said, well, if the board ruled that that is a town way, like I said, they even had language that said, we realize that we're going to have to address a statutory abandonment, and we need to do it properly and notify abutters and all that. They knew they had to do that. What is the significance of that? Is that the standing until someone changes it, which is
Right.
what Attorney Shea says. Eaton Peabody has never addressed
Right.
that aspect of this. I think we're probably going to have to go to the town on this. Unfortunately, I don't see how you're going to get a ruling, unless you're going to use this fire and police thing to fix the road, but it doesn't change the status, which doesn't necessarily reduce the odds of litigation for us, as you just heard. I mean, we can, it's not this far from emotion, but how do you get to where we need to get? Maybe we put together this whole case and present it to the town as, here's a solution. We discontinue from this point forward. We kind of assess what it would cost to do that, because we have to pay compensation to abutters if we accept that road is a town way. And if they approve it, we can finish the project and we have a new status for the rest of that road. If they don't, then the cards will be dealt.
It could possibly be litigation either way.
Well, I could see we could fix the road and still have litigation if we don't change the status. I don't know that we can change the status. But I'm sorry I'm not as organized as I'd like to be, but there's several places here where he says to us, the status is ultimately going to be determined by it. But there is a passage here that says the board can set the status. It's subject to judicial review.
Right,
Well,
right.
that's what that board did.
Right, that's what they.
Well, that's why I don't understand it. And even when and I've said this repeatedly, and we said it, talked about last year, and we talked about it this year, when you go back to the original abandonment that the board did in a selectmen's meeting, the letter they got from Eaton and Peabody back then said that if there was any new evidence shows of maintenance done on that road, that it would nullify their standing of that being able to be abandonment out of
The
the 30 years.
1995 letter.
Yes. Now, since then, there is information that there was maintenance.
Right.
So, if you have a letter from our attorney says if you provide evidence that says that we're wrong, then that changes that. So we've done that. So I don't understand why we are where we're at, because the evidence that was provided does exactly what they asked to begin with in 1995. So
But is it regular maintenance?
That's
I think
what
That's what
Paul is
he's-
fighting. Is
that's
that
what he's
it's
fighting.
not regular.
Yeah, he
The only-
disagrees because he says it's not regular maintenance.
what do you define?
And that's Shay's argument.
And I'm not defending Shea one bit, but when you look at when he was talking about the 1891, how many people in 1891 kept track of any road in Piscataquis County as far as with a ledger? But as far as regular maintenance, what would you define as regular maintenance?
The only reason he's referencing those is because that's a pre-45 rule,
Correct.
and in that case, an abandonment would turn that into a private way.
Right.
So he's excluding any scenario that creates the private way pitfall. And no one's really, well, I shouldn't say that. It was alleged, but he's
But I
basically
will
saying
guarantee
you can't
you-
get to that.
I will guarantee you, if you go back 20 years or right now, every bit of maintenance we do on our roads is not documented. You can't pull up I'll guarantee you can't pull up in shows, or even today. I will guarantee right now, we can't go in and pull up the Grant Road or the Gray Road or Flanders Hill Road and see every pothole we filled, every bit of ditching we did, every bit of brush we cut. That's not recorded. So,
Well, you only need enough.
but that's my
Yeah.
question.
Right.
How do you define enough?
Well, then that's usually decided by a judge, which is expensive.
Yeah, well, we are already very expensive, and we have confusion,
Right.
is all we have, in my opinion. Because we still have two attorneys with two completely different views, and I can pick and choose from either one pieces that I agree with or don't agree with. Which I understand, that's part of lawyers, but... I know we're already at the critical point of spending more money on attorney than it would have to get the entire project completed.
Yeah.
He says in his first letter, he says, common law abandonment is determined by courts, whereas municipal officers can make road status determination under statutory presumption of abandonment due to non-maintenance, subject to judicial review. In other words, this board, I take that to mean this board could make a change to the status of the road.
Correct.
And we don't have to do any research at all. Bang. Now, you might get sued.
But
The
you
town
can-
might get sued, but you can do it. It's subject to judicial review.
Correct.
That's what last year's board did, in my opinion. They looked at it and said, town way.
Under the advisement of the town attorney.
Correct. But, well, we want to get this done, whatever the reason was, but they did it. That's what, and that's in Peabody's language.
Correct.
If he would concede that point, if he concedes the assertion that Shay made, that what that board did is the current standing until somebody changes it, then it's pretty easy to fix this. For less than we've already spent, we can finish the project, and we start an abandonment beyond the turnaround that you want to grant to the town, and we can just take that portion to the town.
Or discontinuance.
Yes, but if he doesn't concede that point, we're stuck.
Correct.
I don't, now, we could take that point and send it to MMA, see what they say. Because I just hate spending more money on this.
And it's just getting more and more confusing.
I do feel like I'm a little clearer than I was, but
I'm glad you figured that out, because I didn't get that out of any of that when I read
well,
that
it's just,
3
I
times.
said, why
Yeah.
is he doing this? And then I said,
Harping
I know
on
why
that.
he's doing this.
Yeah.
Then I got the letter out.
So that's why that part about the fire protection, the way I read that and clearly in my mind said, this doesn't even apply.
Right.
That's
No,
not even on.
He's
Right.
throwing us a life jacket.
But that's what
trying
I'm
to get the
saying.
road
That's why
fixed.
it's like, how did you see that in there? Because I didn't get that.
But I knew right away that that wasn't going to be the fix.
No. It's not even a, I wouldn't have even brought that up, honestly.
Well, he's trying to. So that's, I think maybe we send what we have to MMA and see if they can
Sort it out.
sort it out. It is
Now-
really specifically, it's the significance of last year's board's actions.
Right.
What does that do to the status of the road, if anything?
Right.
We've got one attorney who thinks that it's significant. And even Eaton Peabody's language sounds like you could do what they did.
Right.
So that,
Yeah. I think that's,
When you're gonna send everything you have to, I thought we'd already done that, except for perhaps this letter. I thought that Mr. Pinio had already sent the information to
MMA.
MMA.
MMA has a copy of these letters, but we haven't asked them specifically that question.
Does he have-
And we didn't ask Eaton Peabody specifically that question about that status being created. Now, he says that he thinks that when they rescinded, that those actions, that was an improper action.
right.
But when I spoke to Ken today, he said that was at their council.
Oh my.
Yeah.
We stopped doing verbal
Yeah, no,
contact with
we
lawyers and MMA.
in fact, my personal policy on this, and I may mess up someday, but I think I'm just gonna direct all questions through the town manager. Unless for some reason I have an emergency, but.
Yeah, well, it's just better to have it
Yep.
writing, because.
I can tell you my own personal,
Oh,
I can tell you my own personal experience with 2 calls. The
They
first
don't
question out of their mouth, are you in executive session yet?
But
Better
the
answer
calls
yes,
are almost
because
valueless, because
Right.
they'll send you in a direction, you'll go on it, and
And
then
then
they write something that's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying, I mean.
They don't really,
It doesn't help you.
No,
It doesn't help
No,
us.
right.
it's one thing to call them and ask a question, and as long as you get a written response, but it's verbal responses, unless you're recording it, it doesn't really amount to much.
It doesn't.
In fact, it'll get you in trouble.
It will, because you can talk right off the wall, because nobody has a clue, because, I mean, when I got off the phone that night, I would have bet you anything the response was coming back that that is a public right of way, and that everything we did was perfectly accessible.
You said we had the
and
authority to
you
change
should-
it,
Yep, you should
just like that.
do it.
And
Don't
I
even
used
think twice
several
about it.
examples,
Finish
detailed
it.
examples. I said, so if somebody else wanted to build 3 nice homes up there and approach the board, we could just say, yes, we're gonna convert this easement to a town way and we'll work with you on the road. He said, yes, absolutely, you could do that. And I said, we don't have to go to the town. Nope.
No, do it.
And it looks like that's completely
Oh
wrong.
my gosh.
It's been done.
Well, and you know what? If we did it, nobody could sue us.
Well, yeah.
Based on what
Right.
we learned at the workshop.
Right.
Now, if you're taking bribes and things like that, that's a
Right.
whole other story. You can't do
Right.
that. But if you're just bumbling along and you happen to
Make a lot of bad decisions.
Decision,
probably won't win next year's election.
right,
But anyway, we don't want to do that. We want to do it correctly.
right.
So I think,
And we want to move forward on this as the most, and that's one thing he said, he's like, you gotta start looking
he
forward.
doesn't think we should get involved in litigation.
And I'm still, I mean.
But the other
once-
thing is we can't be afraid of litigation. If we make a decision, we need to
No.
move ahead.
Well, that's why if
Because
the town
it's-
votes to not do it,
That's right. It's really, disabling us as far as moving forward. We can't be afraid of litigation. If we are informed and we make a decision, we need to move forward.
agreed.
But at the other side of it is, as much as I don't want to spend another nickel on any of this conversation illegal, I still would personally like to have the face-to-face frustration conversation. Well, explain this to them and actually ask our questions of why he's doing, because
Well, I've thought about, all of us, or some of us, or Lois and one of us, going to Bangor, and rather than paying them to travel, we go
yeah.
and talk to them.
No, not at
No,
all.
the meter's gonna run.
Oh, it's still going to run. It doesn't matter what you do. It's a matter of how do you make it last.
So.
But I already know
so
it. There's no way you're not going to have there was no way I would
Every
recommend
10 minutes.
that even Lois and one go. I would strongly, especially,
Oh, yeah.
at least you or I, and Jody ought to go.
No,
I mean, if you're gonna do it, because-
The point is.
So that we all hear the same
Are
thing.
we gonna sit down?
That's right,
Well,
right.
and we could record it if they'd let us. I don't know why they wouldn't. That's another area that we might as well bring
Can't you
up.
record it, like on your phone, as long as one person knows that you're recording, it's legal?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it's totally
we're
legal.
paying for the
It's
advice. If we
legal.
wanna record it,
It's very, yeah,
Right.
we
Well,
own
it's still
it.
questionable whether or not you have to inform anybody it's being.
Unless you're in executive session. Then
Correct.
Then you better not, where you can record it, but then it becomes public information.
no, you wouldn't record executive session. But we also there's no question that there's a litigation possible in this. I also have concerns about how much more information we should be sharing. We've gotten to a point now where we have an attorney that's at loggerheads with another attorney. And, we shared this document today because I didn't see this as anything significantly different than the last one.
No,
But we may get to a point where sharing more information is not prudent.
Now, Lois, have you reached out to Shay?
Yes, he cannot talk to me without our attorney's permission.
That's not what you thought, is it, Lance?
That's exactly what I told you.
No, but he wouldn't, evidently our attorney didn't grant it then.
Possibly not, but I got an email from Mr. Shea saying that the email he had sent to Mr. Paul requesting permission to talk to, actually it was you, Mike,
Correct.
okay? And I don't know that he ever got anything.
Okay. So I just thought he had to notify him, but it turns out he actually needs permission.
Yeah. And
So,
and if he didn't have permission, that makes you quander double.
Yeah, it does really makes me wonder something.
Yep, that makes you wonder big time.
Yep.
I won't tell you my personal opinion about Dean Peabody right now and what's going on, because it wouldn't be kind to him at all. Okay,
Well, we're frustrated.
yeah, and.
I'm glad that's why you're the chair. You're so politely worded.
Yeah,
So, what are we? Do you guys have any idea how you want to push this ahead?
I think your idea, going to MMA and asking a specific question as far as,
Comparing the 2 points of view, see what they say about it.
Right.
That might help us.
right,
And
and,
then we'll go from there.
yeah.
And as you guys read these documents, if you can see, key points that we can. Because I sent Becky the documents, But, I mean, they're big documents, she's just like, you know,
Right, right.
but.
So to me, that's the biggest one, is when you go back to the original abandonment. The original abandonment abandons the entire road, number one. It doesn't even abandon that upper piece. The original abandonment abandons the entire road. There's all kinds of proof that that road was maintained on the lower part. So with that proof, that should have nullified
The abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
the 30-year abandonment, because clearly there was maintenance there.
And that's all in the meetings, in the minutes.
Yes.
It says in June 1995, November 12th, June 95 action declared the Gray Road discontinued by abandonment without specifying the area. Okay, I mean, that's what last year's board believed. The 2013 attempt to specify the area by using a point at Lentini's.
The problem in 13 was, what they did do was, instead of looking at it as, we have an abandoned road, so what we need to do is clarify from Lentini's up as being the abandonment point. They clarified that that was abandoned, but they never commented from the beginning of Flanders Hill to Lentini's. That section of road was abandoned the first time. They never even talked about unabandoning it, or however you would...
The west
You know,
end of the hill.
Correct. What they should have done is open the entire road back up and then abandon from Lentini's up. But they didn't do that. All they said was from Lentini's up is abandoned. Well, no kidding. It was abandoned the first time. They didn't change anything.
Well, if you look at the research that was done in 95, it was inadequate, okay? Because there were records, town records, in 95 that stated that the town was responsible to maintain, repair and maintain a mile of the road from the west end of the hill in, which is the old Dave Cleese place, is beyond my driveway where Cleese Farm has, you know, that's a mile. And it says the town's responsible to repair and maintain it passable. Well, I can tell you in the spring, it ain't passable. Not at all.
That was in 95.
Well, the document I'm talking about was dated 1987. Okay. And it's still in existence to this day.
This is the motion that passed in April. And this is the meeting where they accept your offer of materials. And it says Lance Burgess offered up to 1,000 yards of bank run gravel, fabric, use of bulldozer, and labor to upgrade 1,600 feet of the Gray Road from his driveway to Lentini's driveway. The area will need some ditching, 2 culverts to be done by the town, transportation of gravel. I'm getting to the important point. The Gray Road from the Flanders Hill Road to the Flanders Hill Road is a town way. It will need to be determined what section of the Gray Road, either from Lentini's driveway or the Burgess driveway, needs to be discontinued by the town. Mr. Burgess has also generously offered to give the town an easement so the bus can turn around, which is much safer than the turnaround. All of this is voted on and approved by the board. This is a town way. Okay? And then they say they're going to look for more clarification, and they start to work. They start approving you using equipment, they start... So I can see where Attorney Shea is saying, if this motion has any weight, then it might be the key to this.
Correct.
Now, I don't even know that anybody has these minutes. All they have is that letter. They may not even know that we did this. I don't know.
Well, that was my question. When Mr. Pinio said and the previous board member said we sent all of the information to Eaton Peabody, what was all the information?
Really? Yeah.
What was all the information? That's why I'm wondering, do they have all the information? You know?
I don't know. I was told the same thing. And I was informed at first that the previous town manager wrote the letter.
Which letter?
The letter to Eaton and Peabody.
The one that says, "Hi, Thad,"
Yes.
signed by the previous board member?
Yep.
You heard what?
That he wrote the letter.
Matthew?
Yeah.
Bull.
And then, once the letter come out to be,
It's signed by
I
her.
was told, correct, but I never saw it then.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, I've got it. It's right from her.
Oh, I know, I got it too, but now.
But
But until that became public that anybody had it, I was never informed that it was the board member that sent it.
Now, you gotta imagine you're eating Peabody, okay? I had repeatedly asked for some communication from town council to clarify this issue. We had still not sought the advice of town council on this issue. I talked to the town manager today. That's not true.
In fact, the conversation that my attorney had with Mr. Pottle mentions that particular letter that you're reading, and how they acted based on that letter. Okay? That's why it'd be important for you to talk to. But you can't talk to Mr. Shea.
Yeah, not till I have
He doesn't want you
permission.
to talk to Mr. Shea.
That's what it sounds like.
What I would like to know, I don't care if you talk to him, what I would really like to know is if Mr. Shea could send us a brief summary of the conversation that he had.
Not without Paul's permission.
Not without
No.
Paul's permission.
You can't even send that.
Nothing.
No.
Because I
What a
asked him.
system they
I
have.
specifically asked him
Yeah.
that question.
Bar regulations.
Oh, yeah, no, it works for them.
Of course it does.
So, I think we go to MMA, and if you guys have, just direct a question to Lois,
Yes,
and she'll,
please, send me your questions so I know what to ask.
Right.
and
You have more
I'm gonna
insight on
specifically
this.
put those motions together and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Peabody never saw any of that.
That's possible.
It never occurred to me that when Mr. Pinio said we've sent him all the information, and the previous board member said, well, we've sent all of that, that's all been sent now. Well, it just occurred to me, what is all?
Right.
No, it's based on this, you can't.
I mean, it's becoming,
And honestly, I wouldn't even mind if you want to do this, because I know you have a bunch of stuff, I have a bunch of stuff. It wouldn't even be a bad idea to all just to get together and review what we all have so we all can be informed.
Yeah, I agree, and I on the record, I do want to, we may end up having to go more executive session on this for the concerns that I have, possible litigation. And I really hate to do that, because I've already got people out there who think we're doing shady stuff.
Well, to review any information we have, I don't think we need to do that.
I agree, but
I mean, we could publicly, we could review the minutes of the meeting tapes, because you can read these minutes all you want, but they're not the minutes, they're not the meeting. So, I mean, we could review the tapes, we got the documentation, whatever we think we need.
What we need an avenue to progress with this,
Right.
and we can't do that without a legal determination. I've got another letter where we're accused of shopping for legal opinions so that
Right.
we can get the outcome we want.
Right.
We didn't do that. That also was false. But we may have to seek, because we're loggerheads, so we may have to seek another opinion. But we'll see what.
But if everything here is true,
Free.
let's just take worst case scenario. Let's just say that Eaton Peabody, all they saw was that letter. Didn't get the information, or didn't get all of the information.
They have some of it, because that was in my phone conversation with them.
I rattled off an awful lot of this when I was on the phone with him. And
When it's alleged that she's out of the country, and he says, well, hold it, she made that motion. I said, yeah. So he knew that.
correct.
And why did you have phone conversations? I mean, what precipitated the phone conversations?
So actually, Matthew came to us, said that he wants to talk to both you and Dale. He talked to us separately.
Yeah, would not talk to us together. Because that's what we tried, that was my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's
so
just
that you
get
could.
together and, we'll meet at the town office and have it do it. Oh, we can't do that. He wants
It just
one-on-one.
seems so,
Yeah.
it really does.
So, yeah, it was on, he called me on my cell, this is when he called me, I was at my house.
very bizarre, this behavior is extremely bizarre.
And even
actually-
how difficult it has been to get a response. I mean, literally, we wait weeks.
You know,
You
this,
saw that I had
There's
sent
always
the.
I
This
did.
here was after poking
Oh.
him again and again.
Oh,
You
yeah,
see,
like,
it's on your email.
hello, we're having a
And
meeting,
that night,
we need to hear
he
from
was on,
you.
you was on the phone with one of them when I was on the phone with the other.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because I called Thad's cell, and that's what he said. He goes, oh, just a minute, let me step in the other room. Because we were talking to Mike.
Personally, right now, my
I
mindset
was
is
in one
spending
room with
any more
one,
money
he was
with
in the
them
other
on
room with
this
the
is
other.
just a waste.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel. Maybe we'll have something specifically we want to address, but it just doesn't have a good feeling.
May I tell you something? You know, you may think that this is the only time this has ever happened.
No, I don't.
But I can tell you from living in this town for a lot of years, back in the 70s and early 80s, there was an influx of people from away. And those people moved onto these old roads, the McNaughton Hill Road being one. Nobody lived on the McNaughton Hill Road. Nobody. Well, in the late 70s, the Meekins bought in a half a mile. That road was brush was hanging in, no maintenance at all. They moved in a half a mile. Town improved it, maintained it. And then John and Diane Curran moved in another half a mile right to where the road is discontinued from there on. Town repaired it, maintained it. It was still a public way. Okay? The Bean Hill Road, the Jackman Corner Road, the Brockways Mills Road, the Flanders Hill Road, which was up over the hill at the time, was originally the Flanders Hill Road. The only one that lived on that was Allie Gray up about 200 yards on the left. Okay, nobody lived at the top of the hill. Then the Kingmans bought up at the top of the hill, and they walked in for a couple of years. The town improved the road, maintained the road. John and Diane Curran bought in further. Town improved the road and maintained the road. John and Diane bought what the Kingmans owned, where they live now. Okay, so this isn't an isolated situation. This is the only time that it's gotten to this point. Okay.
I think the board can do anything it wants to do. You just suffer the consequences, amongst your constituents.
My problem is,
Boards can pretty much do what they want.
my problem at this time is, we seek our legal counsel for our direction for us to go in. We're all very confused and very, I don't know. There's parts of me that does not agree with what they're saying, for sure. So, but we're supposed to use those guys. So how do you make a decision that goes against your legal counsel? That's the problem.
Correct.
I can see this publicly where it's not going to come out right. When anybody that wants to decipher through the stacks of paperwork on this whole history would feel the same way that all of us do. So, I don't know.
I apologize. We had a board meeting at the hospital tonight, and I just wanted to stop by. I've heard about this. I've known Lance a long time. I've known my wife a long time. Is there a way, in looking at this whole process, and Lois, I haven't met you, is arbitration ever something that is used to settle something like this, so you can take away all the attorney fees and everything else and somehow arbitrate something like this?
I know there's mediation.
Or
if that's the
mediation,
same
pardon
thing.
me, either one. Mediation or
But I'm
arbitration.
not sure if it's this kind of an issue.
There really, you weren't here. There's a pretty simple solution. You take it to the voters. You map out a really succinct question for them and let them decide. If
Well,
they
that's
vote
what
the
code
right way,
calls for.
it's
Right.
done.
I mean, I did read the code. I
Yeah.
was interested, and that's what the code says.
Yep.
That has to go to the town, et cetera, and then, or can go, and that's the way it would go. But I was just curious. Again, having had no experience, but arbitration, sometimes we use it in the hospital sometimes. If we have a lawsuit, for instance, I mean, if let's say it's something reasonably egregious, we certainly always consider the potential for arbitration or mediation.
I don't think we've hit that point.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's really a viable remedy on a road issue, because
Yeah, that's the other.
ultimately the legislative body digs its heels and says, no, that is abandoned. You get sued and you go to court. Now you,
So
unless
be it,
one
so be
party,
it. We
exactly.
gotta move ahead.
Correct.
So be it. Sue us.
When you stop the
What are we
clock
gonna do?
going with the lawyers.
That's right.
I mean,
So
that's always-
let's get on with
Did
it.
you look at that link on the website that just incredible, the history of roads in Maine?
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Right. So I think we need to move forward and get it over with, whatever's gonna happen.
I agree. So, but we got until next town meeting to get our ducks in a row.
Right,
We may have a solution between now and then,
right.
but between now and then, if we haven't fixed it, we're going to the town with it.
Right, but if we were to have a special for all these other, I mean, this could be on it.
You could. I
Right?
would be reluctant to do this on a special.
That
but-
quick.
No. Okay.
Specials are very,
They're easy to stack.
Okay,
Very-
okay, I understand.
but
I
and
understand.
honestly,
Yeah.
I say that, but town meeting is easy to stack.
Yeah, no,
I mean-
but at least it is the town meeting, and we have plenty to do on this. I mean, it's a small project in terms of getting it done. It's a big project in terms of taking up our time and spending money legally. I think we need to stop spending money.
That's right.
And
We need to
we'll-
make a
we'll-
decision,
Right.
that's the
And
end,
then
so we need to
that's the end of
provide some
that.
guidance, and if we
Right.
don't have any, we're gonna go the other way, I
Right.
think. We'll see what the board wants to do.
Right.
Are you satisfied with the performance of the town's attorney?
Well, that's hard to say, because he's our, that would be that I'm saying, I didn't think my surgeon did a good job. Well, maybe that he did the best he could with what he had to work with. Again, he may not have all the information. We don't know that. That's what we're kind of coming to the conclusion that maybe we don't know. So you can't make it, if the attorney doesn't make the decision, and we're not comfortable with it because it's so cloudy and we're not moving forward and it's not clear. It's not,
I have perceived inconsistencies.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
definitely troubled me. But that could be my layman's way of looking at things. And maybe he would say, I don't believe that, but because it was very explicit what he told us we could do. And so
On the phone.
On the phone.
On the phone.
Yeah. And really what's neat about it is he had two separate conversations and both of us had the same experience. So it's not like
Right.
I have some concerns, but it's largely irrelevant. I mean, we have a billing issue, and that's a separate issue. And we may have some discussions around what we feel like we should pay and shouldn't pay. But that's totally separate.
Right.
I think we go to MMA, try to get some clarity on maybe
Right.
a couple key issues. If they can't help us, we better start preparing for a question for the town, I think.
Yep, and move forward.
Yeah, we have plenty of work to do.
Yep. And this is, it's just too much time on
Too
an
much
issue.
drama.
It is. And,
Well, there's too much cost.
yeah.
I mean, I think I'm pretty confident to say that our number one focus on all of us sitting here is to
That's
try
right.
to save money and reduce costs.
That's right.
What do you
And
think
what
today's
we're
email
doing-
cost us?
Oh, my gosh, a fortune.
Oh, even how it
fortune.
starts out, or
Sorry it's so long. Oh, yeah? I'm
I
sure
said
you
the
are.
lowest is probably like 20 cents a character.
Yeah,
it's probably $10 a carrot.
So we're going to do as little of this as we possibly can.
that's right.
I would like to see all correspondence stop, just because it just keeps going. Every time we ask a question, you get a response back that makes you want to ask another
That's
question.
right.
The whole class is built on that. So, okay, so that's what we're going to, unless we come up with some specific thing, we're not going to
Right.
involve anybody anymore. As best that we can.
Do we want to meet to review, just so everybody's up to speed, or?
I would like to, because, I'm coming on the board when I did, there's just so much and it's so complex.
And I think there's enough information that it deserves its own time.
Right.
I mean, you're not gonna go through all of this
And whoever wants to come, if we do it not in executive session, anyone who wants to come and get up to speed with why we're so confused
If we don't have a way to remedy this on our own that we're comfortable with, then that's, I think, is what's going to happen.
Right.
If, for example, MMA says, no, what the board did last year stands. That road is a town way. There's a motion, it passed, the minutes are there.
Right.
Well, then that's easy. In fact, we've got a big piece of old road up there that needs to be addressed that nobody lives on. So
Right.
if that piece falls into place, I think we can fix this pretty quick. But right now, that's the only out I see.
Okay.
I really don't like the fire and police protection on
Right.
public easement game. That's just,
Right. It doesn't help us.
nope, it doesn't help the town.
Right. That's
Okay?
right. Okay.
one more email to go to the stack.
This coming
We're gonna table the
Yeah.
computer correspondence.
No.
Thank you. Request for additional agenda items.
I'll table it.
Okay. Is there an executive session?
None.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn at, is it 7:48?
Yeah.
A second.
So much for your 2 hours.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That was,
You take the meeting, right?
Take one?
in total? Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't
we
take a
didn't
vote,
vote.
unanimous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could please, tomorrow, I'll bring this flash drive.
Yep, that's Doreen.
Doreen can